Chapter 370. The Elder of Cold Harbor. The place they were in was the highest point in the Tower of Lies, as Zykel was hanged at a tree on a floating rock. Mortal? No. Leave me be. Zykel, isn't that the one you were torturing in the castle? Serana. Yeah. Don't ask me about the attitude. He's an idiot, but the sort of idiot you'll like. Let's get you down, boy. John. I said leave me be. I had enough torturing for 2 days. Zykel. Okay. No, I'm going to torture you, don't worry. John. Why were you torturing him anyway? Serana. He sold me off, you know. I agreed to trade 1,000 soul with Molag Ball, and then Molag made this runt sell me off to your father. Also, I wanted him to bring me the sigil stone I used to give Molag Ball the souls. It should contain a lot of power. John. Mortal. Leave me out of it. I don't want any of that. Zykel. Too late. John. Zykel's chains were cut with John's sword, and the Dremora was carried down like a helpless kitten. John was about to say something smug, but he noticed a presence behind him. Before he could turn around, John was already waving his sword backward. Clink! 2 blades cut against each other, and John rebalanced himself to face the attacker. His right hand held the sword, and his left covered his face with his mask. Krylin. Apprehend that Dremora. John spoke to Serana, pointing at Zykel. Wah! Zykel didn't seem to understand what is going on, but Serana was already pushing his face to the dirt. If you don't want to look like a traitor, act like you were getting kidnapped, Serana whispered. On the other side, John was facing the newly arrived enemy that walked the stone bridge to the floating rock. Who are you? Why did you kill my subordinate? Markinaz Marks walked up with an angry face. John completely ignored him and looked at Serana. Secure the package. I'm getting rid of this. Humph. Don't look away. Markinaz Marks seemed angry as he waved his Daedric sword at John. John recognized the power behind the blade and parried it to the side. With fast reaction, he counterattacked horizontally at the Dremora. The latter pulled back his blade and stopped John's slash with 2 hands holding blades vertically. Both of them were strong. I'm the overseer of the Tower of Lies, Marks. Who are you? The Dremora was interested in this strong opponent. I am Krylin, Darth Krylin of the Sith. John didn't mind adding some bullshit to the fray. He was wearing a Sith mask and black cloak while holding a red, glowing sword after all. Krylin? Sith? What are you? Humph. The likes of you are not worthy of knowing. Remember our name and tremble in fear, puny Deidre. John lost himself to the act and swung his sword, empowered by his aura at Marks. The Deidre kept up with John on equal footing for a few exchanges, but John kept increasing the output of his power. Huh. A worthy challenger. Marks seemed happy facing an opponent as strong as John, and the latter was in no hurry as he was executing his dominance on his enemy. As Marks's leg was cut and he was kicked on the ground, the Deidre crawled to the back with agonized expressions. Before John could finish off the Deidre, the latter took out a red object and injected it with his magic, causing it to glow and make a sound. Damn, an alarm. Ha ha ha. Mortal, fighting you brings me honor, but I can't let you leave. You will be swarmed by every Dremora in the tower. Marks declared with ecstasy. Pathetic. John beheaded the Dremora right away. He nodded to Serna, and the 3 were about to leave, but before they could step down through the stone bridge, they were surrounded by a horde of Dremora. TSK, we are fighting our way out. Take away the Dremora. John shouted, and Nefertiti jumped out of John's shadow, taking Zykel and the cube. Now John and Serena had to make it out, but the charging Dremora were already closing on them. Serana was about to transform into the vampire lord form, but John stopped her. We can't let our identities out. Fight as a mage, and I will guard you. Serana retreated on the stone bridge and started spamming her frost magic as area of effect spells to kill as much Dremora as possible. John guarded the front of the stone bridge by himself. The ones that survived Serana's magic were already in front of him and didn't even lose their momentum. John held his sword and commanded Greed to possess Bloodskull. The end product is the 4 meters tall giant red sword. One swing was enough to cleave 3 rows of enemies using nothing but brute force and the sharpness of the blade. Once John added his aura to the mixture, he unleashed power attacks that made the weakling Draymora disintegrate from the energy density. As he was not covered by greed anymore, and only a small portion was used as a prosthetic foot, he was not wearing the vampire armor either, but rather returned to his normal gear to not give out his identity, yet all that made his armor a bit lower. Using stone skin and the other protection spells only gave him peace of mind to face that big number of enemies. Once the Draymora realized they're only thinning their own numbers without a result, the soldiers stopped charging and the elites took the front to face John. Things are going to get difficult for John as he was trying to avoid using his trump cards that may give his identity out to any pursuers, but there was no choice now. He was about to do something flashy when a volley of arrows attacked the Draymora facing John. The hell? John backed off right away. He can swear he couldn't feel those arrows unless they were 10 meters close, which was a point-blank distance. Such a terrifying attack was deadly for anyone. John observed his surroundings and noticed that the volley of arrows was only one arrow. In the end, the only explanation he could think of is illusion magic. An illusionist archer? Now that would be scary. The Draymora was about to charge at John again, but another arrow hit the ground, and a cloud of smoke blocked the view. John could detect the source of that arrow, which meant that the archer was trying to point John to her place. This way, John took Serana by the hand and dashed out a cloud of smoke back to the floating rock and from the high ground. John and Serana jumped. The fall distance wasn't high, but it would expose them, so John had a cold flame Atronak hawk carry them and glide away without being seen. The Atronak took curves in the air and blended with its surroundings due to its color that resembled the realm and landed far away from the Tower of Lies. John kept his guard up as he surveyed his surroundings. Serana also kept her guard following John's actions. "Show yourself," John spoke. As his voice echoed in the abandoned place, John felt a presence too close to him showing itself. "This one means you will, furless ones. Please don't get triggered." A Khajiiti voice and accent spoke to John and Serana. John backed away for a bit, then looked closely at the man who appeared. A short one for a Khajiit with tabby, for carrying a bow and donned in gray robes. "Greetings." "Hello." John and Serana greeted the Khajiit. "You are that one fishing at the river we passed through." Serana identified the Khajiit as the fisherman from the river. "Yes, it is me. You can call me Mr. Skittles," the Khajiit said. "Mr. Skittles? Some sort of house cat?" John commented. Serana poked John by the elbow and spoke. "Thank you for packing us up, Mr. Skittles." "No worries, Mississippi. This one was just returning the favor. Catching a moray leech from the waters of this foul realm is a joy few experienced." The Khajiit spoke and looked at John. "So, what brings a fellow mortal to these sands of oblivion?" John recognized the Khajiit's sharp senses in discerning that he is a mortal rather than Serana. John smiled under his mask and replied, "Haven't introduced myself, have I? Name is Krylin, and this is my partner, Anares. We are with the Sith, and we're trying to find a way out of Cold Harbor back to Nirn." John said. Serana tilted her head, and John scoffed it off, but the Khajiit seemed to not be caring for the identity rather than the answer. "Furless ones, this one has been here for some time, and believe me, life is very miserable." Mr. Skittles spoke with a hint of sadness. "Mr. Krylin and Miss Anares, it was wrong to enter Cold Harbor without securing the way out. This cursed sands of oblivion make one go crazy. You shouldn't have come without care. We have an idea of how to go out." John said. "Then you shouldn't share it with anyone if you don't want to get chased by a horde of soul shriven who would do anything to get back to their home sands. Unless this one is Mr. Skittles, of course, Mr. Skittles will help you any way he can." John nodded. "Then can you point us to any of the old portals? Whatever seal there is on them, I can temporarily remove it." "This one is afraid that it is impossible, Mr. Krylin. The old portals you are speaking of are 1,000 years old and no longer have a link to Nirn. The recent ones are very hard to use and in very secure locations guarded by Molag Bal's own forces. If that's what you have, then I am afraid you are out of luck. What about the other way? Sarana asked John. Then we need a certain list of items that may or may not exist in Cold Harbor. We were kidnapping a Draymora, I know for information, but I guess you may already know something. John said, "What are the items, mister? Krylin is speaking of?" Mister. Skittles seemed interested. A certain soul sigil stone that has the carries essence energy of 1,000 mortals, an item that carries the scent of Nirn, an energy source that negates Cold Harbor, and any material that can endure spatial travel. John laid down his shopping list. This is indeed a lot of items and may not exist, but a Draymora won't help you this easily. This one knows someone who knows all about Cold Harbor, maybe better than Molag Bal himself. Mister, Skittles said as rubbed the fur of his chin. You said we should keep others out of this. John said, well, except that man. He doesn't need a way out of Cold Harbor anyway. Come, this one will guide you to the oldest soul shriven in Cold Harbor. Mister, Skittles covered himself with his gray cloak and started walking lightly and nimbly to the south. Sarana looked at John as they followed Mr. Skittles and wanted to say something. What? John asked via telepathy. Anares. Really? She seemed upset about her name. Cute little fangs doesn't sound that bad now, yes? Sarana shook her head and asked, do you have a plan, and should we trust this Khajiit? No and no. Now that our easy way is out, we can only rely on the difficult way. I have many tricks in my sleeve and an undead army at my disposal. I just can't attract Molag's attention, so I'll take any chance I can get for the time being, even if it is fake. Oh, how optimistic of you to trust people. Me? Well, I know that all people are hopeless, and I rely on that too. As long as I know what they want, I can trade with them. Now, that's Khajiit's soul is black, which means he is immortal. He also doesn't feel good about staying in Cold Harbor and is desperately trying to leave. Oh, really? I think he fits in just fine with all the fishing and the following. How can you tell? Sarana replied. I raised a cat. I know how cats act when they are uncomfortable about their space. Fine. Different than how she acts around John, Sarana trusts nothing and no one. John's relationship with Sarana is based on the blood he fed her, which made her see him a bit favorably. The effect of John's blood at level 3 Ebon Blood stage, Dragon Frame Realm, can at least do that much against Sarana, while it can completely charm lesser vampires. The three moved to the south away from the roads and arrived at a rocky area, then started traveling east. The road was blocked by a mountain, but Mr. Skittles found a path through the rocks and started walking up. John and Sarana followed with their sharp perception covering a half a mile in every direction like a radar in case if there was an ambush or trap. About that distance to the north, John and Sarana detected some large ruins. That is a city. Sarana was surprised to see those ruins. The Hollow City. John seemed to have remembered about such a place. In the depth of Cold Harbor, there was a city protected from Molag Bal's influence and minions by his enemy, Meridia, the Daedric prince of infinite energies who despises undeath. It was thus a unique oasis of light and life in one of the darkest and most dangerous realms of oblivion. That city was the main base of the forces fighting Molag Bal during the plane meld 1,000 years ago. But now, things are so different. After the plane meld, there was no need for mortals to stay in Cold Harbor after 1,000 years, and of course, the city was abandoned by both mortals and Meridia. Now, it is a husk of its former glory as a city that lies in darkness with broken walls, ruined houses, and the lonesome chapel of light at its center covered with a heavy aura of gloom. We have arrived, Mr. Skittles declared as the three arrived at a narrow path down the rocky road. At the end of the path, the three arrived at an isolated ruin with many signs of movement all around the place. Passing some old walls, John and Sarana saw a gathering of people, or rather soul-shriven, in what appeared to be a shelter. Many broken trees were arranged to resemble living quarters, and some of the soul-shriven were gathered around a bonfire. There, an old soul-shriven man with a metal cooking pot on his head, holding a lute and regaling the surrounding soul-shriven with a short ditty. One fine day in the middle of the night, two dead kings got up to fight. Back to back they faced each other, drew their bows, and stabbed themselves. The ones around were entertained by the old man, but John's whole being froze for a second. He removed his mask, Krylin, to reveal his shocked face while looking at the man he remembered. Sir Cadwell. Chapter 371. Sir Cadwell. Sir Cadwell of Codswallop is the oldest of the soul-shriven of Cold Harbor. A cheerful and endearingly mad lost soul. He was said to be insane when he still lived in Tamriel, which is credited as the reasoning behind him not becoming feral like the other soul-shriven. In life, he was a need from the town of Coral from the Merethic era. Neds are the predecessors of the Imperials from the prehistoric era, like the Atmarans to the Nords. How did John know all that? Simple. Sir Cadwell is one of the heroes of the Elder Scroll Online MMORPG. He is the man that can get through anywhere and everywhere. Hell, even the Daedra stopped coming after him, as they all know it is impossible to keep him in place if he did not kill them. His appearance is as comical as the game. A crossover between a gentleman and a beggar with a neat little beard and a handlebar mustache covering his head with metal pot and crossing legs while sitting. John's looking at Sir Cadwell and recognizing him made the man look closely at John. "Oh, lovely day to you too, large man." "Yes, it is I, Sir Cadwell of Codswallop, Knight of the Court of Cold Harbor, champion of chivalry, defender of the defenseless, and shepherd to the soul-shriven." Oh my gosh, it's really him. John was fanboying so hard once he heard those words. "Mr. Cadwell, this is Mr. Krylin and Miss Anarez from some order called the Sith. They think they can get out of Cold Harbor, but they need things, strange, rare things." "Mr. Skittles spoke. "Oh, jolly good to see you, Skittles, my lad. I see you have made the company of other mortals already. A pleasure, as ever. Now, you two must be tired. Well, one of you is a mortal anyway, so have a seat, and the other not mortal one. Well, a lady should have a seat too. Now tell me, how can this humble one serve you?" Sir Cadwell spoke with manners as he conversed with John. John calmed himself and looked to Sir Cadwell. "Before anything else, a pleasure to meet you too, Sir Cadwell. Oh, enchanted, and I should say that I've read so many books about you. The notes of Abner Tharn about the Dragon Crisis and elsewhere were just amazing. Oh my, looks like we have a reader. This is fun, very fun. Abner and I go way back, but the old fool had his own business in the end and forgot about his old chums. Shame what happened to his family, though. The whole thing about the Staff of Chaos and all that. Nasty bit of business, if you ask me." Agreed. John was completely pulled by the chatter of Sir Cadwell. Sir Anna looked between the two and tapped on John's shoulder. "Oh, right, Sir Cadwell. I know this is rude and out of the blue, especially after we for the first time in this life. But can I ask for your help to get us out of Cold Harbor? I know you can do that portal thing." John asked. Sir Cadwell has indeed the power to open a portal to anywhere he fancies. Such power will sure save John all the time he needs to prepare for Winterhold's battle. "Sorry, lad. I can't help you with that. I sure can go to Nirn, but I can't take anyone with me anymore. It is different when it comes to the same plane, though. Such a hurdle in many people plans, but don't worry. You will find your way out eventually." "Oh, right. You said there's something you'd be needing?" "I do need 4 things. A certain sigil stone, a source of energy that negates Cold Harbor, a scent of Nirn, and something sturdy to hold all that." John said, Well, lucky you, lad. I know where to find all of it unless for you sigil stone. But you see, there's a thing I want to—" Sir Cadwell said, "I'd be glad to help, but I am running low on time." "No worries. It will be a matter of solved during tea time. Also, you need to go through them anyway to gather your things. Skittles, my lad, still has the map?" "Yes, Mr. Cadwell." Mr. Skittles took out a map and handed it over to John. "Open it. There and there. You will find a flower growing on that location that carries the scent of Nirn, and there you will find some alloy or ebon steel, something the Daedra are really obsessed about. Sir Cadwell pointed out 2 locations. And the energy that can negate Cold Harbor? John asked. No need to rush things, my boy. The third one needs some time, and you still have a sigil stone to find. The sooner you start, the sooner you finish. Things are getting nasty in Cold Harbor, so please watch out and tell me when you're ready to go. Sir Cadwell said. John nodded and stood up. Thank you for your help, Sir Cadwell. My partner and I will have a chat over there. John and Sir Anna excused themselves to the side and had their own conversation. He sounds really mad to me. Do you keep trusting weird people this easily? Sir Anna remarked. Come on, that's Sir Cadwell. Sir Cadwell. He's a big deal around these parts. John said. I know who Sir Cadwell is. You do? Yeah, he was there before everything, you know. Oh, I see. The daughter of Cold Harbor thing. So, the things you're looking for are all here. Shouldn't we get done with it? Sir Anna asked. Okay, just give me a minute. Nefertiti. John called for Nefertiti, and she appeared stealthily. John nodded to her, and she used the cube around her leg to take both John and Sir Anna in. Inside the cube, the space was peaceful and clean. John appeared in and took off Greed and Krylin right away. He put Bloodskull on its pedestal and walked to the fountain of water on the side. I haven't slept for 5 days, so I need 6 hours of rest at the very least. I am starting to lose focus lately, and I wasn't in my perfect condition. Make yourself at home, John said. Sir Anna was frozen for some reason. She looked left and right with wide eyes at the strange interior she found herself in. Where is that? She asked. My place. You carry your place around. Neat, right? The interior resembled a Dwemer architecture, but it was delicate and a bit fancy. There was no stone, but it was all rather made of metal and strange things. The room had many doors on its walls, and the space seemed really strange. John was moving around the room, getting rid of things and putting stuff in order. He then stopped towards an odd-looking chest and opened it for a cold sensation to come out of that box. He took out a plate of food and started heating it with magic. If you're thirsty, you can find some blood in the alchemy refrigerator over there packed and all. Just ask Nefertiti and she will get it to you, John said. Sir Anna looked towards Nefertiti, who was in her normal form, sitting on a table and staring at Sir Anna. I don't think your cat liked me. Sir Anna seemed awkward about it. Why? The one who replied was Nefertiti rather than John. Right, you can talk. You just keep staring at me. Sir Anna became cautious. Something wrong with it? No, it is just rude. I'm a cat. Right. John's head seemed heavy, but he finished his meal and walked to one of the doors. Sir Anna wanted to follow, but Nefertiti stopped her. That's the men's restroom. Sir Anna stopped while feeling awkward. John came out after he brushed his teeth and headed to another door. He opened it and went in. Sir Anna looked at Nefertiti for confirmation, and the latter lightly walked in after John, assuring Sir Anna to follow. That room was John's quarters, as it seemed. Sir Anna could see how it was a very place. In the center of the room, there was a crazy large bed that can fit 10 people. John was already in his shorts, diving into bed. Nefertiti walked to a corner where a lot of boxes were gathered, and she transformed into a little girl to arrange the boxes and the toys in place before getting into the largest box and covering herself with a sheet, then turning into a cat again. Sir Anna was baffled by the weirdness that showed up all of a sudden. So you had that house on you all the time, even when you were imprisoned. If my father knew, he would actually cough blood. Sir Anna said, Why? Because he was showing off how you, a puny mortal, were being tormented by nothing other than a dark little room while in truth you had your own mansion around your fingers. John laughed lightly. Sir Anna seemed a bit curious as she approached some setup of a large mirror, some dressers, and a lot of clothes lying around. A strong mix of scents of perfumes was also coming from there. That's Alina's corner. Alina, my betrothed. Sir Anna nodded and looked at her reflection in Alina's mirror. She was in a dark cloak that covered her royal vampire dress, made of crimson cloth that won't reveal the bloodstains, and dark leather for stylishness. She also had a collar around her neck with Molag Bal's face carved on it. Her hair looked old-fashioned, but suited her face with the sides tied backward and her face looking pale. Serana's original appearance and armor. She knew that she looked pleasing to the eyes, yet, in fact, she is a vampire. She didn't hate being a vampire. She liked it very much. She walked to another corner and found a setup of dark leather and chitin armors and with blades and arrows organized neatly. Jeliner's corner. Jeliner, my girlfriend. I see. Fiancé and a girlfriend. She saw another setup after them, but it was lacking in any sense of fashion, yet had a strong smell to it. Ila's corner. Your girlfriend too. More of a mistress. Spoiler alert, she likes it rough. That's some weird taste in women. Serana remarked. I always say, thug life, one wife, and a mistress and a girlfriend. I'll keep that in mind. Serana kept checking the fancy room, and John became silent. She came to a stop in John's corner and sat in his chair. She saw piles of books, schematics, ideas, weapons, sketches of naked women, and all sort of things that should be kept in one's head. Through her eyes, she was getting to know a person in a new way. He seemed to not mind her going through his stuff, and so she kept reading the books and the notes about the theories of magic and the insights he has, yet there were those ones that were written in a language she saw for the first time. She even managed to learn how to power up the light screen that was password protected, but still filled her with wonder. A few hours passed, and John was still resting, but Serana was still as interested in all the new things as when she started. The interest she has in John may have originated from the blood trick he played on her to make her trust him, but soon that was no longer the case. Her interest has already gone beyond that point. At the end of the day, she found a blueprint of a large building that resembled a tower. Its name was called the Tower of Music, and its appearance was a bit bizarre. A circular wide base with a cylinder shape that extends tall until its roof, which had two large rods growing from both sides of the tower. The tower had the power to convert magicka into certain tones that can create mystic effects which are impossible. Serana kept reading the paper and gasped from the shock. This tower is a terrifying weapon. If it can do what it said, then the whole continent will never cross the power that possesses such a thing. Even her father and his goons will think twice and thrice before even thinking of the idea of making an enemy of that power. Still, as amazing as it is, the tower needs a very important artifact to function, and she has already given it to John. A hand extended and touched Serana's back. She looked back with fright, only to see John smiling at her. I see you found this little bad boy. John pointed at the papers of the Tower of Music. Yeah. Serana seemed nervous. You shouldn't call that little. And the Tower of Music? Really? Oh, come on. Do you have a better name? Serana shook her head and put the paper away. Don't worry about all of that. We just need to make it out of Cold Harbor first. Well, now we have 3 days left. Let's make the most of them. John and Serana walked out and put themselves back into their gear. John then walked to the place where he was holding Zykel and barged in. Hey boy, let's have a chat. Mortal, wait, no. Chapter 372, Kind's Tears. Jolly good seeing you again. Out for a stroll, did you? What met John after going out a cube? Was Sir Cadwell? Nope, just took a proper nap before going out smashing asses. John replied. Oh, what a lovely idea that is. Nothing like a proper rest before a fight. Even an intrepid knight, such as myself, can't go to battle with a fuzzy mind. Ready to go. Sir Cadwell seemed about to open a portal to some place in Cold Harbor, so John spoke. I've spoken to one of my contacts and found out where is the location of the sigil stone I am after. Oh, do tell. A place called Castle of the Dead. De Bella's Garters, why? Lovely grounds, no question, but it's positively brimming with all sorts of undead and a nasty cult of soul shriven. The soul shriven have cults now. 2 factions, well yes. Those who swore fealty to Molag Bal, so they get a better life of eternal servitude, and those of us who resist with anything they can. Nasty ones. All the new soul shriven appear there, and those who manage to hear of us and escape may survive until here. Sir Cadwell pointed to the gathering of the sole shriven he had. They all looked skinny and weak with nothing to fend themselves with. What about the mortals that get here? I only saw Mr. Skittles. It is just you and him, boy. Hope you help him, though. Fine, I'll see what I can do. John said, by the way, I have a friend that I kidnapped from the Tower of Lies with me. He is a Dremora, so I think if he can be of help. Oh, Sir Cadwell looked around. Where? John pointed for a half, then summoned Serena and Zykel out of the cube. Oh ho ho. If it is not young Zykel, how are you these days, lad? Heard you got yourself tangled up in trouble with a mortal. TSK. Cadwell. Zykel and Sir Cadwell recognized each other. You two are familiar with one another? John asked. HM? Of course, your Dremora friend is a kind of a celebrity out of the get-go. He was conjured not an hour after he was created and has quite the record with being summoned. Actually, I'm not surprised this lad is somehow involved with you. Funny, don't you think? John heard what Cadwell said and looked at Zykel with a grin. Till now, I only heard tales of the almighty Sir Zykel, but looks like there is a whole new side of you I will learn about today. Humph. Mortal. One day you will grow old like all mortals, and let's see who will have the last laugh. Zykel snorted with anger. John couldn't help but slap the Dremora's back, making him cough out blue blood. Until then, I'll bully you to death, but you know what, boy? I actually feel bad for you. Don't worry. Nirn is lovely this time of year, so make sure to drop by. God knows my hands get itchy when I don't bully twice a day at least. Stick your pity up your puff. Zykel was about to say something, but John punched the ever-living out of him. Hey, watch your language. There's a lady here for fuck's sake, you asshole. John said as he winked at Serana. You realize that I'm a vampire, right? Serana asked. Clearly. And your cat is a child. MHM. And you have a werewolf girlfriend. What's the point? John tilted his head. Serana smiled calmly. I mean, you shouldn't bully people when your tastes include an undead, a half-beast, and little girl. John's face turned pale right away. The sudden realization was too much for him. You mean you're saying that I am necrophiliac furry lullicon? Not sure what any of those mean, but as long as that delivers the message, then yes. Serana said. John covered his eye with his right and took a deep breath, then his lips arched up. Nothing changed from my past life then. Hell, it seems like my friend's souls are accompanying me too. Thanks, Fatty Four Eyes. Goodness, he is hopeless. Serana laughed. Now, we are getting late. Sir Cadwell, whenever you're ready. The shrouded plain, the ever-full flagon. Sir Cadwell's portal opened near an old ruined tavern. He walked out followed by John, Serana, Zykel, and Mr. Skittles. What are we doing here? Zykel asked. This is the easiest part. Here you will find the scent of Nirn you are looking for. Sir Cadwell explained. What exactly are we looking for? John asked. A flower that goes by the name of Kind's Tears. They grow around a shrine of Kind that got dragged in Cold Harbor to the south of here. Zykel here must be very well familiar with the place. I'll be in the old tavern here having a drink with some old soul shriven chums of mine. Sir Cadwell said. How familiar? John asked. Zykel refused to answer. Well, one of the lad's ladies dwell around the place. That boy is a lady killer, I tell you. Popular with all sorts of female Daedra. Sir Cadwell said with a sly smile. Zykel seemed annoyed by the fact. Popular with female Daedra? John looked at Zykel in a different way. You never told me about such a thing. Sir Cadwell, I want details. TSK. Sir Cadwell shook his head. The poor boy attracts that sort of attention all the time. Let's say that some Daedra may look pleasing to the eyes, but Daedra they will always be. Fine, no spoilers. I expect we will come across a member of your harem over there. Do introduce. After 10 minutes and a mile to the south, Zykel was walking in a dark forest alone. He was stumbling left and right because his bad sense of direction, but a certain voice in his head was spamming him to death. Zykel kept his path straight until he saw a mass of spiderwebs roped all around the place. He swallowed his dry saliva and walked forward with caution. Not a few steps later, something caught on his feet, and out of the blue, he was caught up and in the air by a spider string upside down. Wah! No! Damn it! I knew this would happen. Desperation appeared on his face as he struggled left and right to break free, but a sudden chilly sensation crawled up his spine and guts. This was something he is very familiar with. "Mo, Mancha, is that you?" Zykel talked meekly. I smelled it. It was you, dear Zykel." A creepy hoarse voice echoed around Zykel. "Oh no. By the Lord, damn you, mortal. Fish sticks. Mortal, fish sticks." Zykel cursed at John as he saw the monster that appeared in front of him. It was a spider Daedra, Arachne, with a terrifying appearance and a sinister look on her face. "Weak, pathetic Zykel, I knew you would come and find me one day. I was about to come and look for you." As the evil-looking spider Daedra approached, Zykel started resisting as much as he could. Her evil hoarse voice made him want to break free and run. She held him still and started checking his body. "Fish sticks." Zykel kept shouting that word. "This feels good. You were killed recently? Good. All your organs should still be fresh." "Pitiful Zykel. You must have got conjured by a mortal and got killed again." "I said fish sticks. Please." "Don't worry. This time will be on Mancha's hands. Do you remember where we stopped last time? Right? I was eating your liver when we had our best moment. Where should I eat this time? Your lungs, your tongue, or your eyeballs?" The spider Daedra was digging her claws in Zykel's abdomen while licking his face with her long tongue. "No, fish sticks." Zykel kept only shouting this word. "Why do you keep shouting this word? Do you want to make me angry, Dremora?" The spider Daedra was about to punch Zykel. "Fish sticks." Before the spider Daedra punched Zykel, someone stopped her hand. "All right, that's enough." Serana appeared behind Mancha, with her claws elongated, crushing the arm of the spider Daedra with a hand and destroying her face with another. The spider Daedra twitched in place before collapsing on the ground dead. "Then Ku." Zykel's face was pale from the fright that he had. He thanked Serana meekly before she cut him down. "I kept saying it, the safe word. Why didn't the mortal come earlier?" Zykel asked Serana. "He is collapsed over there." Serana pointed behind the tree. "What? Someone actually could put down that mortal?" "No, he almost died from laughing." The Khajiit kept blocking his voice from leaking, which made it worse. "You shouldn't have agreed to say such a silly safe word, by the way." Zykel looked towards John's direction with disappointment and kept pitying himself. Just why did his stinking fate put him with that mortal that can haunt the Daedra? Zykel stood up and walked to John, who was whipping his tearful eyes. He took a deep breath, resisting every urge to fight with that mortal. John could calm down right away, but he kept teasing Zykel to death. "Still, you have an Arachne girlfriend. Boy, I know a few people who actually envy you by now." "Leave me alone, mortal." "Don't worry. We all should go through the crazy girlfriend experience at some point of our time. Don't worry about it. Now let's gather the flowers." John patted Zykel's shoulder with a heavy hand, then walked away and started following him to where they were supposed to go. 3 standing stones stood around a short structure in a dark forest. The central one carried the symbol of Kine. "So this is the shrine?" John asked. "Right here. You can find the flowers around, but they tend to hide very well," Zykel said. John looked around the shrine and found a stone tablets around it. Each one had an ode written on it by the runic language. John could read it. The first ode was called Kine's Tears. It said, "Dark clouds gather in the sky above. Kine weeps for joy at the beauty of the world. Tears warm the ground, and blossoms grow. The sacred stone reveals the flowers of her tears." The second ode was called Hidden Tears. It said, "The sacred stone responds to the land where her tears fell. Tears to purify hearts, the earth, the water, the very air around us. Kine whispers and weeps in the hallowed places." The 2 odes spoke of how to locate the sacred flowers that grew around the shrine and the power of purification they had. "Good. These flowers indeed carry the scent of Nirn. I want everyone to split up and look around for them." I will use the sacred stone on the shrine and guide you with telepathy." John said, and the three nodded. In less than an hour, the team has gathered more than 10 tiers of kine, which were flowers with red petals and enchanting scent. John stored them right away in the cube for their quality not to drop. The four returned to the ever-full flagon to find Sir Cadwell sitting alone with other soul shriven in the abandoned tavern. "Oh, Krylum, my lad, jolly good seeing you in one piece after facing the lie-spinner spider. It was nothing spectacular. Now to the next stop, the Black Forge." Chapter 373, The Black Forge. Run for your lives. Zykel screamed in frenzy. The situation in the Black Forge was chaotic. Red sparks, metal shrapnel, a horde of angry Dremora, tracking scamps, and even large eye-like creatures surveying the sky above the forge. This all happened because John completely misread the situation about the social relationships between the Daedra of Cold Harbor. Sure enough, there were clans and blood ties despite all the Daedra being spawned around by their lord. Yet the one thing John did not foresee was Zykel's sister. That's right, the sister of the Dremora Zykel, whose name is Vixelai, and was surprisingly a high-ranking Dremora, an overkin. Unlike her loser brother, she was the supervisor and the forge master of the Black Forge. Details of that story will come when John rescues Zykel from his crazy sister, and now to how it began. It all started when the party arrived by Sir Cadwell's portal to the Black Garrison region. John knocked down a Dremora and placed Zykel in his place, then made him infiltrate in with Nefertiti in his shadow with a portion of greed to create a shadow portal. The Black Garrison was a very dangerous zone, as it was the center of the Daedra's operations in Cold Harbor and where they get to do their business. So, basically, the place was crowded with them. The Black Forge was a large pyramid at the end of the Black Garrison and what Zykel was supposed to infiltrate. Yet in a strange situation, Zykel found himself being surrounded by multiple Kinreeves and being dragged to the innermost part of the Black Forge. "Zykel, you dim-witted fool, are your horns for a show?" A female Dremora was waiting for him. Despite being rarer than the males, the females of the Dremora have the same appearance of the bald-horned head and the Darth Maul-like appearance. "Vixelai, please, let's just talk. What happened? You were conjured again, didn't you? The Lord assigned you a task, and somehow, right after you finished, you got conjured 3 times straight. You idiot dimwit. You were about to be promoted to a Kinreeve." The female Dremora was foaming from anger as she glared at the shameful brother of hers. "Vixelai, please listen, it is not my fault. It is that mortal. I swear by the Lord Molag's name that he is haunting me." "You shameless horns for a show. Haunting you? A mortal haunting a Daedra? In what realm did that happen? What's next, huh? An army invading the forge?" Vixelai pulled Zykel from his horns. "Actually, that is already happening." Zykel confirmed his sister's words. "That KYN, he lost his damn mind." Vixelai slapped her brother with an angry, "Looks like I am keeping you until you learn how to behave. The name of our clan is in the ground because of you. Overkin, overkin." A low-ranking Dremora came running to the smelting chamber where Vixelai is keeping Zykel. "What is it?" Vixelai shouted. "The forge, we are under attack." Vixelai became silent and looked, then turned her glare at Zykel, who was tied up to the black chains. The fool was not saying nonsense after all. "Which clan is invading us? Who is the enemy?" The first idea that came to mind was another Dremora clan going against hers. "Overkin, it is ours." The unexpected answer didn't come nicely to Overkin Vixelai. She slapped the Dremora in front of her, then walked out of the smelting room to see what is going on outside. What she saw was a bizarre thing. Her own clan, her own people are fighting each other. No, these are not her clan. These were similar entities that looked like the KYN, but different beings altogether. What is going on? Defend the forge. Vixelai took the lead of the defense, tried to cope with the sudden attackers that came from all over the place with no pattern. The thing that shocked her the most was meeting her own clone, but here were the scene changes. Back at the smelter room, Zykil's shadow moved and a black cat jumped out of it. With her, a dark matter formed a circle and some figures walked out of it. Zykil, what happened to you? John saw Zykil tied up again, but his appearance was way more pitiful than before. My sister happened. Get me down. Your sister? Draymora have sisters? Just get me down, mortal. I will die again. Zykil seemed desperate about being released. Truth be told, he was being cooked alive on the heat of the smelting room, being hanged in chains and all. John used telekinesis, and Zykil was down on the ground begging for breath. John didn't mind the horrible wounds on Zykil and offered him a healing spell specialized for Daedric entities. Zykil could stand up after it. Just what happened? What is that sister thing? John asked. When Draymora are spawned for the first time, they spawn in groups. Members of a group are to treat each other as brothers and sisters as they get named by the clans that adopt them. Serana replied. I see. John nodded. My sister, she's the forge master around here. An overkin, don't let her catch us. I don't want to end up hanged up once again. Fine, just do as I say. You said the best refined ebony alloy in Cold Harbor is stored in this place. Can you take me to it? Not far. Zykil walked out of the room, followed by the team. They traveled through some room and used the chaos John created with the Skull of Corruption to end up in front of a large vault. Damn, it is locked. Mister. Skittles stomped the ground. Nothing is locked. John stepped forward and used the skeleton key on the vault, unlocking it without anyone noticing the existence of the key. As soon as the gates of the vault were open, a foul feeling came from inside as a lot of Daedric material were stored in that vault. It took John less than a minute to find an ebony alloy cold iron ingot of the highest grade, something that can only be created in the Black Forge, and every blacksmith on Nirn will kill to see. It wasn't just that. John took whatever material he wanted in the cube right away. There was a lot of high-quality ebony in this place, so leaving it for the Daedra was a sin on its own. Heading out of the vault, John and his team found themselves surrounded by an army of angry Draymora, with Vixalai on the lead of that army. Sister. Zykil was frightened to his wits' end. John didn't hesitate to put his blade on Zykil's neck. One move, and I'll kill him, John said. The Draymora around looked at each other in silence, then started laughing. A Draymora can't be killed anyway. To others, that threat was meaningless, but to a certain sister, that threat was a slap to her face. Release him at once, and surrender, mortal. You are in my domain. Vixalai shouted at John. She was a large Draymora, with horns and all, even uglier than her brother. Ha ha, you won't take him. This is my prisoner, and you'll do as I say. John's voice under the mask was evil and theatrical. Who are you, mortal? What do you want? Vixalai said as she held her greatsword up. I am Krylin from the Sith, and you will submit to my power. Puny mortal die. The two hot-headed human and Draymora failed to establish negotiation on an amazingly fast pace, and their energies collided. John was releasing the tyrant aura, and Vixalai was using some combat technique that suited Draymora. The two waved their swords and clashed. You shall not win. Watch me. She was annoyed with fighting a clone of herself some time ago, but fighting the mastermind behind that disgrace would surely bring her joy. Vixalai's and John's clash was mighty, and the Draymora around couldn't handle the pressure. Each time they moved their swords, the forge would shake from their power. Who made that mask? Vixalai noticed Krylin and asked. The best blacksmith I know. Humph. Mortals and your trinkets. Now die. Just because you said doesn't mean I would. John shaped greed into a large fist and launched Vixalai away. She landed on a wall and looked at John with vicious eyes. A worthy opponent. She evoked a spell not toward John, but towards a wall in the forge. The wall broke, and a pipe of magma broke open with its content flowing everywhere. Everyone was shocked to their wits' end, and chaos broke out. Run for your lives. Zykil screamed and started running as everyone else around, except John and Vixalai. Seeing the magma coming towards him, John only smirked and raised a road through it with telekinesis. Vixalai did the same, and met him for a few more exchanges with their swords. However, John was superior in prolonged battles with his outstanding stamina and tolerance for high heat that was buffed by his bloodline and mask. Vixalai fell short in the end. "It is over, Zykil's sister. I have the high ground." John spoke with a grin behind his mask. "You underestimate my power, mortal," she said. "No, don't do it, sister," Zykil shouted, but it was too late. Star Wars reference. Vixalai jumped toward John over the river of magma she made and waved her sword at him, but the later fused greed with Bloodskull, and the sword became 4 metals long, intercepting Vixalai way further than what she imagined. The blow sent her away, hanging on the side of the room, just centimeters above the flowing magma. "We have wasted enough time. Let's leave." John didn't want to attract any higher being than Vixalai now that all this mess was taking place. He withdrew right away. "Mortal, don't run." Vixalai started to cuss at John, who didn't even give a damn. "I will come for you, sister. I promise. I will be as powerful as a Daedroth." "No, a Daedric Titan. I'll be fine." Zykil kept crying to his sister as he was being dragged away by John. However, John was pleased with the fight. Just a while ago, he finally got to say those lines in the situation. It was perfection. Chapter 374, The Castle of the Dead. "You know, Zykil, I am actually feeling bad for you." "Cut it, mortal. I know you're scheming something." "What? Me? How rude. I was genuinely honest with you." "I don't think you were truly honest." "What? Even you, Serana? I am officially heartbroken." Back at Sir Cadwell's hideout, John and the party regrouped once again for rest. The trip to the Black Forge was full of surprises. John learned the true nature of relationships between the Daedra of Cold Harbor. It can simply be described as a dominative community, which is a paradise for masochists where the strong dominate the weak. An unfortunate Daedra, like Zykil, will find himself being bullied by all sorts of higher-ranking female Daedra, and let's not describe the appearance of those creatures. So, our next destination is the Castle of the Dead, formerly known as the Castle of the Worm, the former base of the most infamous necromancer in history, Mannimarco. John recapped. "Won't we rest before going there? The Lost Shrine of Kine and the Black Forge are too much in one day." "Mister," Skittles asked. "Sadly, I am running low on time. 3 days are the limit I have before something bad happens to my hometown in Nirn, so I need to be there before the deadline, and I don't want the news about our actions to spread around Cold Harbor." "The Castle of the Dead, then. How marvelous. The ground there is lovely and all, but is chaos if you ask me. All the new souls shriven spawn there for the first time." Sir Cadwell added. "Fine then, right before we go. Zykil, do you have any girlfriends in the place we are heading to by any chance?" John asked. Zykil remained silent for a while before nodding and replying. "2 of them. Well, that's interesting. I am truly sorry, but we will have to use you one last time." "What? Didn't you say you feel sorry for me?" "Cut the crap. A mortal feeling sorry for a Draemora. Now that's a funny joke. Let's go, Sir Cadwell." The Castle of the Dead, the wretched squalor. At some place in Cold Harbor, the Castle of the Dead stood tall and mighty, while in its shadow was a town of fresh souls shriven who were being drilled in Cold Harbor. John and his team made it to a certain abandoned ruins near that town. "So what is the plan?" Serana asked. "Appearing in public will draw attention to us. By the initial recon, the place is guarded by Draemora scourges, and we need to slip through them to get in the castle. The problem is, we won't be able to walk through the locked doors that easily." John said. "Leave sneaking for this one. I can hide you all no problem." "Mister," Skittles said. "Good. Invisibility is not my strong suit anyway." John agreed. "Where is our exact target?" Serana asked. According to Zykil, the Soul Sigil Stone is located atop the Tower of Bones, where one of his mistresses is supposed to extract the essence of the 1,000 souls I killed from Molag Bal. Taking the Sigil Stone means that I will deprive Molag of the meal that he eagerly waiting for. It will be a good payback for handing me over to sending your father to capture me." John said. John's payback against Molag Bal was not just done by that. He'd do more if he could, but he needed more power first, and also needed to rid himself of the blessing of Molag Bal, so he can be free from any unwanted influence. Now, Zykel, this is your turn. John pushed Zykel out of the ruined building, and the latter hesitated for a bit before walking through the wretched squalor. John, Serana, and Mr. Skittles were following not too far under the invisibility spell of Mr. Skittles. The illusions that he cast were all top quality. John kept looking at the pitiful soul shriven that freshly arrived at Cold Harbor. They were a sorry sight of how much dread can the Daedra cause to mortals. John never felt sorry for opposing the Daedra, even though he didn't really hate them. The Daedra are forces of nature after all, and they get empowered not by their forces but by the reflection of their spheres in mortals, as say, Molag Bal gets stronger when the people of Nirn are more into shems, strife, domination, soul harvesting, and brutality. Around the wretched squalor, John could see some sights of Dremora patrolling the town and assaulting any soul shriven that behaves out of order. None of that was unexpected in any way, but a certain scene made John halt his steps. He kept looking at a certain soul shriven with an expressionless face, which caused Mr. Skittles and Serana to halt too. "What is with him?" Mr. Skittles asked. "Don't know." Serana shook her shoulders. John dispelled the invisibility and walked to the soul shriven that was sitting alone under some shed. The soul shriven was acting like a madman, holding his head and groaning. His strange actions made the other soul shriven distance themselves from him. Torture marks appeared on his body, as it seemed that the Dremora were taking turns on whipping him because of his broken mind. John arrived in front of the man and held Krylin away from his face. The man didn't seem to react or look at John, so he simply kicked the man back. Startled by the appearance of the sudden man in black, the soul shriven raised his head to see John's face. All the groaning and pain stopped all of a sudden in that man's eyes as he just stared to John's face. Serana walked beside John and looked at the soul shriven. "Someone you know?" she asked. "Indeed," John replied. "All of my recent troubles started with him, and he is here because of me. Isn't that right, Alaric?" Alaric, Prince of the Forsworn and the enemy of John Dare, was soul shriven and mind-broken. John looked around to spot many familiar faces from the Battle of Forsworn. John Dare. All of the 1,000 he killed and offered to Molag Bal. "Well, they're all nothing but husks now. I've already exacted my revenge," John said as he turned around to follow Zykel. As he walked away, Alaric stood up and called John. "Nord, please, end it. I beg you. End that nightmare." Alaric pointed at his neck. He wanted John to kill him. John turned around to see Alaric's complete white eyes and ashen skin. "There is no waking up from this nightmare, though. What is dead may never die," John replied and walked away. "There is no saving a soul shriven which is forever doomed to serve Molag Bal." John left Alaric and entered into the invisible state once again as he hurriedly returned after Zykel. The latter was close to the castle's entrance and announced his arrival to a Dremora guard. Not long after, someone appeared to receive Zykel. "Look, who is it? Isn't it pitiful and wingless? Zykel?" Zykel looked up to see the creature that came to receive him. It was one of his personal tormentors, or rather, one of his harem, the winged twilight, Vera. "Vera, I came to see you in Ozazai." "Ah, you came? Fine, I'll take you." The winged twilight, Vera, was larger than her regular kind. Her kind, which looked like harpies with scales rather than feathers, is a fearsome kind of winged Daedra. She flew down on Zykel and carried him from his shoulders by her talons. She didn't mind her talons digging in his flesh as she took him through the gate of the castle. John and the rest followed and didn't utter a single sound. The castle of the dead was filled with all sorts of horrifying undead creatures and soul shriven that worked on the assembly line of the black soul gems extracted to power off the Daedric machines in Cold Harbor. John took the chance to plant some remotely explosive rune traps in hidden places for a certain idea he had in mind. A few minutes later, John and his team arrived at where Zykel is. It was at the top of the tower where a circular open room could be seen. Zykel was thrown on the ground, and another female Daedra approached him. Ozatsi! Zykel looked at the Daedra in front of him with fear. Zykel, you came. That Daedra was a harvester, one of the worst kinds of elite Daedra. Harvesters are half snake, half females with 4 arms and the usual evil Daedric appearance. Yes, Ozatsi. I see A came. Zykel was horrified when the harvester touched him. She twisted her snake-like body around him and put pressure. It has been a long time since you were appointed to the Tower of Lies and didn't come to visit us. What makes you think we are not angry with you? Hiss. The harvester hissed at Zykel while asking him a question. Oh, well, you see, I wasn't really planning to come here, but, Lord Molag Bal has tasked me with a thing lately. You know this soul sigil stone that contains 1,000 mortal souls thing? Hiss. Yes, I'm seeing to it myself. Oh, good, there's a situation, you see. A group of mortals calls themselves the Sith, or whatever, have infiltrated Coldharbour, seeking to steal the stone. I was told to deliver a message to you, that you should keep it close, just in case. What? A mortal foolish enough to sneak in my domain and steal the Lord's sigil stone? That what I was told. Please let me go. Don't squeeze. The harvester squeezed the ever-living out of Zykel with her body, then threw him on the ground. Pathetic. Hiss. Vera, secure the stone and bring it here. Yes. As the winged twilight left the room to bring the sigil stone, John and his team sneaked in. The harvester was still planning to torment Zykel. She carried him up and pinned him to the wall with her face sticking closer to his. Pathetic Zykel. So you didn't come back to see us. You little piece of dung. Do you know? Do you know? No W what? Hee. Ah ha ha. We replaced you. We found another pathetic KYN to torment. Way much better than you. Ah ha ha. The harvester spoke to Zykel with an elated tone that was still scary to listen to. She kept laughing so loud, too. Still, Zykel's face twisted in one go. You did what? Rather than being relieved that another bullying victim was found, he became angry for the fact. You replaced me with some loser, you unfaithful bitch. His voice carried a deep grudge as he quivered and tried to break free from the harvester. Ah ha ha. The harvester, however, was still laughing in a good mode. Yes, Dremora, you feel the rage? Ah ha ha. Your favor is long gone. There is another pathetic fool who is taking your place now. As the scene continued, someone middled in. Excuse me, but I have a question. It was John. Mortal. Zykel reacted with familiarity. I mean, a mortal? The harvester turned to John to see him walking close to her with a girl behind him, holding her head down. How did a little rat like you come to my domain? Speak, mortal. She threw Zykel hard on the ground, then crept toward John with strong, killing intent. I was just asking, how do the relationships work here? I mean, they're built on domination like anything else in Coldharbour, but how do you guys are supposed to feel about them? John's question caused the harvester to stop her charge. Puny mortal, what makes you think you can understand? You don't need to ask them. Sarana stepped forward. The relationships between the Daedra are twisted. In Coldharbour, romantic relationships are forbidden, so the Daedra can only dominate and ** each other for the sake of having fun. Yikes! John became disgusted. Your Daedric friend here may feel bad about being bullied, but that's the normal nature of relationships here. Still, getting dumped is as bad as it is with normal mortals. The only way for him to redeem that relationship is to ** those who dumped him and dominate them himself. This is the nature of the minions of the king of ** Molag Bal. Okay, this fucked up realm can officially kiss my ass. John was about to evoke his magic and battle the harvester, but a figure flew into the room. It was the winged twilight. Ozatsi, I brought the stone. Vera said, then noticed John. What? A mortal? John saw the soul sigil stone, and his eyes lit up. He used telekinesis and snatched it from the talons of the winged twilight right away. No, return it. The winged twilight and the harvester charged at John at the same time, but it was already too late as the sigil stone was finally back at his hands. With a little push of his magicka, the sigil stone reacted right away. A violent wave of magicka assaulted the two Daedric creatures and causing the energy inside them to overload. That caused a sudden bang to happen within their bodies, and they exploded to fine pieces. That's how powerful the essence energy of the 1,000 souls inside the soul sigil stone was. John only needed a small bit of magicka to tap into the stone's hidden powers and do that. Of course, he had studied the sigil stone many times before he could hand it to Molagbal. "It is over," John said as he flicked his fingers, and the rune traps he planted in the Castle of the Dead started to explode one by one. "Let's run." Mr. Skittles was terrified by the shaking explosions and wanted to run right away. John grabbed Zykel up and spoke to him. "I know you feel bad that you got dumped, but I will help you with that matter later. Let's run now." "Truly mortal." "Yes, let's talk about it when we get out of here." John and the team ran and jumped from the balcony of the tower as the fire started eating it. Only one piece of the puzzle was remaining. It was waiting for John inside the Hollow City. The ancient artifact of thousands of years old, which was used by Sir Cadwell and the Soulless One. The Light of Meridia. Chapter 375, The Battle of the Hollow City. 2 days until the Battle of Winterhold. "Sir Cadwell, what is going on here?" "Oh, good to see you, Krylon, my dear. You see, now that we have helped you gather your items, it is your turn to help us. Don't worry, the objective is too simple, I might say. We are also helping you help us. You don't need to do much, actually." "Hold up a second. I get it that I am supposed to help you as repayment for guiding me around the place. But can I get an explanation, please?" "HM? Nothing much to explain, really. As you can see, I've gathered them in, and we are ready to march behind you. I am sure this time we will make it." John looked at the so-called gathered men that were lined around the Cadwell shelter and felt a strange urge to smack his forehead. Number-wise, the soul-shriven were not impressive in any way possible. "What do you want me to do with that soul-shriven militia, Cadwell?" "Well, you see, it's an event we do here every year, really, nothing new. We gather every time the best numbers we can muster, then go on a small campaign. It usually ends up in failure thought." "Hey, Zykel, do you know what he's talking about?" John lost patience on Sir Cadwell. "It's nothing important. Those rebelling slaves gather every year to raid on the old Hollow City. Something about retrieving it in the name of Meridia," Zykel said. "Wait," John turned to Sir Cadwell. "You want me to go with those undisciplined, untrained, and obviously unequipped militia of yours to attack and conquer the Hollow City? Well, it's not a matter that needs a military genius, really. You see, this is a militia of soul-shriven. You don't get it yet? It is an immortal army. They will fight until they die and fight again," Sir Cadwell said. John looked at Sir Cadwell, the ancient Mad Knight, and narrowed his eyes. "How long?" John asked. "How long have you been doing this? Gathering soul-shriven and raiding the Hollow City every year. Since when?" John's question seems to have hit a nerve on Sir Cadwell and the other soul-shriven around. They seemed not really responsive when the thought came to mind. The one who answered was Zykel. Those idiot slaves have been doing it for many years, even before I spawned for the first time. Something about Meridia abandoning them a long time ago and their Hollow City falling to us." John heard Zykel and frowned. "Meridia abandoned the Hollow City? This is a bit strange. Can't you, Sir Cadwell, still open portals? Isn't that the power bestowed upon you by the Daedric Prince Meridia?" John asked. "Indeed it is the case, but the Hollow City was abandoned not long after the Playmeld. Only some curious folk kept the water running for a time, but the Daedra started harassing the visitors. Year after year, no mortal sat foot in the city, especially after the heroes disappeared. It was only a soul-shriven, but none was faithful to Lady Meridia other than me. All they wanted, and all they still want, is either salvation or freedom, but this is Cold Harbor, and the matter of eternal servitude is quite the theme here. You know the drill. I see. John nodded. After the disappearance of the Soulless One and the appearance of Tiber Septim, none was really in the mood for sticking around Cold Harbor, and as the Septim Wars were the next major event after the plane melt. And what happened to the Light of Meridia? John asked. The Light of Meridia was a powerful crystal associated with the Lady of Infinite Energies, Meridia. It was used to destroy the planar vortex, the artifact that was melding Tamriel with Cold Harbor. The Light of Meridia was later used as a mean of teleportation by the Soulless One to roam Tamriel with the blessing of Meridia and the assistance of Sir Cadwell. To John's question about the crystal, Sir Cadwell seemed down. He put his hand in his pocket and took out a small pouch. This is all what I have. In the pouch, there was a handful of crystal fragments that radiated a strong light and pure energy. John took back a few steps while Serana and Zykel retreated to the other end of the shelter. Strong. John could only gasp in his mind in front of true power. As a mage whose pride was handling energies, this one was something profoundly amazing. It was as if the power of a nuclear reactor can be carried in one hand. This was some fragments of the real thing. Where's the full crystal? John asked. The Light of Meridia is not some handful of fragments. The size of the full crystal is as large as an adult's forearm. It is in the Hollow City's Chapel of Light. I brought it back here once no one needed it, so it can be put to preserve the city, but we got attacked, and the full crystal was shattered by a traitor who was promised to regain his soul and be sent back to Nirn. I managed to grab this handful of fragments and used it to open a portal, been using it ever since. I always ask Lady Meridia for aid, but it is vexing to say, but I think we are abandoned. John felt the bitterness in Sir Cadwell's story. Meridia may be the Lady of Light, but is also the Glister Witch, the obscure Daedric prince who helped the people of Nirn in the plane meld, yet turned on them with the return of Umaril the Unfeathered and ravaged the temples of the divines. The Daedric prince who despises the undead, yet gets her followers to be mindless extensions of her will. John could understand. So, what is the plan? Retake the Hollow City, retrieve the other fragments of the Light of Meridia, and reactivate the city's protection mechanism? John asked. Couldn't put it any better myself. You, sir, are an enigma. Sir Cadwell returned to his cheerfulness right away. The thing is, what's in it for me? John said, I help you get the city back and get what? It seems like you're planning on using all the parts of the Light of Meridia to power up the city. Oh dear, you are as perceptive as a cat. Sir Cadwell's smile turned cold. Thank you. John liked the compliment right away. Here's the thing. The Light of Meridia was formerly 5 smaller beacons that were used to transport the Hollow City to Cold Harbor long time ago. We won't be able to restore the full crystal without Lady Meridia's interference, but we can put the 5 beacons back together. 5 beacons? Wait, like the beacon of Meridia that caused my speakers to get destroyed every time it goes and new hands touches the beacon. 5? Holy cow. A reference to Meridia's quest in Skyrim. One be like, tone it down, ho. I get that you're enthusiastic about the quest, but let's not rush it. We still need to prepare a plan for retaking the city. Sir Cadwell took out a map. Remind me again, how long have you been doing this retaking the city scenario? Around 900 years, give or take. Why you're asking? 900. Damn. Fine, what is in the city? Dremora, lots of them. We may find an elite or 2. You don't know. Well, we haven't made it beyond the city walls for the last 500 years, so yes. We do not know what's in there. But cheer up, the Daedra always underestimate us and don't seriously defend. John was speechless. They didn't make it past the walls for the past 500 years, and the Daedra is not seriously defending. John took a quick look around the soul-shriven Sir Cadwell gathered and shook his head. I can sneeze and defeat all of them. The number reached a few hundred, but in his eyes, they are no better than a band of a few hundred meat shields. He wouldn't rely on that. John walked out of the Cadwell's shelter and headed north to sit on a high rock. There, he could see the Hollow City covered in a thick cloud of gloom. From what he could guess, This gloom was some sort of dark magic that can keep the light energy of the fragments of the Lighta Meridia in check. The dark magic is also known as the Daedric magic and the anti-magic, an obscure type of magic that is very lethal against Magicka users like himself. Nerina is an expert in the field. John conjured some lesser Daedric creatures that can fly like a winged twilight and some hawk familiars and ordered them to fly over the Hollow City to do recon from above, but the black fog erased the binding effect John put on those creatures and canceled the summon. Troublesome. John narrowed his eyes. The Soul Shriven aren't happy with you looking down on them. A voice came from behind John. He turned back to see Serana. Without even saying, doing the same damn foolishness over and over again for 900 years with the same result only proves my point. I wasn't disagreeing with you, though. Serana jumped up beside John. Tricky one. You only have 2 days to return to Nirn. Can we take a city without an army in 2 days? Hee. John laughed and didn't say anything for a while before speaking once again. You know, I keep a small army nearby, just in case any emergency city invasion situation popped up. Serana looked at John with narrowed eyes and smiled before breaking into laughter. What? You don't believe me? And where do you keep that army? She asked. Let me introduce you to Wrath. John clapped his hands, and the giant bone samurai, holding a large katana, appeared behind him. Serana looked at the undead that appeared behind John with wide eyes. Impressive. Is it a bone colossus? I used the same technique to construct it, but it is a crossover between a skeleton, undead, and a golem. It has a core and all. Now watch this. John pointed his finger towards Worth, and a dense stream of magicka flowed to the conjuring mechanism inside it. Wraithman warriors and bonemen archers started appearing in large numbers around. Approximately 500. Damn, I got better at this. John can summon 500 undead and make Wrath sustain them on its own. This was all due to his sudden increase of strength while he was captured. And now we have an army, he said. Serana looked around with wide eyes and looked at John again. What kind of monster are you? Even I can't sustain that much. It is all about control and management. Giving the undead creature some freedom to act is better than completely dominating it. Binding techniques can be very consuming and limit your chance of having more minions, but loosening things will ensure you the numbers. You can also make a special undead creature like Wrath have a certain effect on the binding. This a bit revolutionary. It is the house's technique. My adoptive mother is obsessed with necromancy. John stood up and gave a hand to Serana. Let's tell Cadwell that we are ready to march on the Hollow City. The 926th annual battle of the Hollow City. About 500 undead and 800 soul shriven marched towards the Hollow City. The soul shriven attacked from the west and the undead from the south. Leading the soul shriven on the west was the ancient knight in rags and kitchenware armor, Sir Cadwell of Codswallop. His forces acted as shock troops that would draw the attention of the Daedra in the Hollow City due to the immortality privilege of the soul shriven. The southern front was under the command of Thane Johnhild Firemane, who acted under the name of Krylin. John was acting as the strategist and the mastermind behind the day. He was not an expert in open field battles, but give him dark areas and twisted methods, and he will ensure a crazy victory. The whole purpose of the first hour of the attack was to lure the Daedra garrisoned in the Hollow City out and expose their leader. The Soul Shriven are the yearly enemy those Daedra face, so they were quite relaxed in front of the enemy that barely had any pieces of equipment. John's undead were the ace in the hold, and the ones who joined that battle later on. John would love to use the hit and run tactics if he had enough space, but he had to do with what he has right now. The fight broke out on the Western Front, and the Soul Shriven rebels were out for blood. They used wooden blanks to block the attacks from the Daedra on the city walls, and large trunks to act as hand rams. The gate of the Hollow City was not budging due to its sturdy materials, and so the attack on the west was doomed to fail. Sir Cadwell gave the command to retreat in 2 directions. The first towards the west away in the shrouded plains, and later the other half retreated to the south towards John's troops. The Daedra saw the prey run way too early and couldn't bear the hunt to end so soon. The city gates opened and a great number of Draemora flooded out towards the nearest group of Soul Shriven, the one retreating to the south. Jon watched everything through the eyes of Nefertiti and gave the order for his troops to form a formation. The soul-shriven troops of Sir Cadwell arrived and bypassed Jon's troops that were hidden around the area. The southern area was a swampy place of azure plasm puddles. The soul-shriven were unarmored and could run unhindered, but when pursuers arrived, their mobility dropped down drastically. It was time for ambush. Jon's undead blended in the surroundings very well due to their color and took the opportunity to attack right away. The bowmen climbed onto the high ground available, and the wraithmen formed many formations and made multiple blockades to hinder the Daedra. A chaotic fight broke out in the swampy area south, and the retreating Soul Shriven started acting once again. The ones who attacked past Jon returned to block the road, and the ones who retreated earlier blocked the road from behind the pursuers and were watching for any reinforcement. The Sin of Wrath, Odakuro, roamed the battlefield as the proxy commander of Jon and kept the troops organized. It also was assassinating any powerful Daedra that tried to cause a ruckus and sabotage the plan. Jon didn't move a finger from the start as he was just sitting and recovering on his cold flame Atronach horse. He was waiting for the strongest Daedra creature in the Hollow City to come out. None knew what that was, unfortunately. As the greater number of the Daedra was thinned on a rapid pace, Jon knew it his time and allowed a few Daedra to retreat back to the western main gate of the Hollow City. Now that the Daedra were disadvantaged, it was time for their boss to come out. Jon took out his sword and rode to the small gate to the southeast that led to the inner plaza, and his undead followed. He waited for a while until he felt the magicka inside the Hollow City being disturbed. This meant that the enemy is reacting. Without giving it much thought, Jon used telekinesis and carried multiple undead creatures in one go, then threw them inside the Hollow City over the wall. The ones that managed to land started to cause ruckus inside the city, while the ones that broke while landing started to explode with corpse explosion, creating massive casualties among the Daedra inside. Jon's action caused both his enemies and allies to feel shivers in their spines, throwing the undead like that was surely a new method that was completely unheard of in siege battles. The last patch of undead scaled the walls with wrath and took over the southern gatehouse, opening it for Jon and the Soul Shriven. The battle inside the inner plaza broke out in a nasty fashion as Jon used all sorts of underhanded methods to control the flow of battle for the first 5 minutes. But that was all there is to it. It was about time for the Daedric boss of the Hollow City to show itself, and it did. A gigantic shadow covered the battlefield in the central plaza, and an insane pressure was felt. Everyone, regardless of the faction, looked up to see the late participant in the battle. Who dares to challenge the Wrath Balzar? The large figure landed as it roared in the invaders of its domain. It was a quadrupedal creature with a humongous body and 2 large black wings. Its head was dreadfully evil with pairs of large horns growing on each side of its head. Its black skin, its blue eyes, and its scary appearance gave out its identity right away. Those who were acting brave just now were on the brink of shitting their pants, either Soul Shriven or Daedra. Even Jon had a large "oh shit" floating above his head. The Daedric Titan that appeared made the battle completely freeze with nothing but its sheer presence. Still, something made the situation take a rather gigantic wrong turn. The D word was spoken by the Titan. A powerful chain lightning spell broke from the crown and assaulted the gigantic Daedric Titan's face. Who dares you ask? It is I, you daddy. Chapter 376, Jon vs. Daedric Titan. 8,000k votes extra of last week. A Daedric Titan is not some your walk-in-the-mill Daedra. It is the elitist of the elite. War slaves to Molag Bal. The first Daedric Titan was created from a dragon captured by Molag Bal, who wanted to know the secret of how the dragons dominated the mortals. The dragon didn't utter a word despite the torture, and in the end, Molag Bal said that he would create his own dragons from this dragon. He killed the dragon, snared its soul, then modified the skeleton of the dragon into a new form of 4 limbs and wings, then dipped the skeleton in the deepest azure psalm pool for the end product to come out flying as the Daedric Titan. In appearance, they looked like the dragons, but were smaller by half the size, and their appearances were nightmarish. Still, they are most fearsome opponents one can face in this realm other than the High Lords of Coldharbour. The Titan that appeared in the Hollow City right now was a scourge among the Daedra, a being whose pressure put a stop to the battle immediately. It landed on its 2 hind legs, spreading its wings widely and swinging its arms around. It opened its mouth, and a light blue flame came out and burned everything in sight. Both the soul shriven and the Dremora spread around like ants in front of the mighty being whose height was over 5 meters. Those who didn't run or hide in time were burned by the essence drain cold flames that the Titan shouted. Behind a certain broken building, 4 figures grouped up over a 5th figure trying to hold back a disaster. John was triggered to the max once he heard the forbidden word. He launched a barrage of lightning spells at the Daedric Titan that barely did any damage but was hastily pulled away by Serana, Zykiel, Sir Cadwell, and Mr. Skittles as soon as the Daedric Titan started retaliating. "Hey, what's got to him, Mr.?" Skittles asked while holding John's leg. "I don't know. Boy's as mad as Shiagarath's jammies," Sir Cadwell replied while holding the other. "I didn't see him losing his cool like this before," Serana said as she was sitting atop of John. "I know," Zykiel said. "It is the dare word. It is his poison. You can't dare him. That is why he goes by his other name." "Uh-huh." Serana understood. "We need a ESC. No, don't bite. Don't bite. It hurts." Zykiel was trying to muffle John's mouth, but was bit by the latter. "Found you." The Daedric Titan noticed Zykiel's screams and looked over the broken building. "Run!" Everyone on top of John spread around, and Nefertiti enveloped John by a shadow and took him away. The group kept hiding from the Daedric Titan behind ruined buildings and broken walls. They started to quietly sneak until Serana and John were reunited. "What should we do? At this rate, we won't defeat it," Serana said. "I know, but if we let go and fought with everything we got, our identities will be exposed right away. I don't want either your father or Molag Ball to know it was us." "Yes, I know. You came up with that Sith scenario for this." Serana and John seemed worried about their little scheme. It was true that they were not fighting at their full power. If they did, they may defeat the Titan, but they will attract all sorts of bad attention. "What if we used a large-scale illusion array to block sound and sight?" Serana asked. "The problem is the Daedra. If we killed them, their souls will go back to the azure plasm and reincarnate in the span of a few hours. By that time, they will report everything and come with greater numbers." John said. "Too late. We need to act now." "Fine. Give me a sec." John used telepathy to contact Sir Cadwell and Mr. Skittles. He wanted Sir Cadwell to rally the soul shriven and harass the Titans to buy time for Mr. Skittles to create a muffle and mirage illusion array. In the meantime, Serena, Nefertiti, and John would take down any other Daedra beside the Daedric Titan. Nefertiti was doing fine on her own. She would dive in the shadow, attack the Dremora and the Clanfear around without even the Titan noticing. Serana would morph into a flock of bats and fly around the hollow city from above, taking down any Daedra silently. John used wrath to manipulate the undead and cause some chaotic situations to annihilate the Daedra around the place. He was also using a bow and shot down the greater Daedra silently. On the other front, Mr. Skittles was using a fancy set of soul gems delivered to him by Nefertiti to make the muffle and mirage array, a large array that creates a cloud of mist which blocks sound and sight. Sir Cadwell was commanding the soul shriven to sneak in the old buildings of the Hollow City and launch suicidal attacks at the Daedric Titans. They managed to lure the Titan beside a certain large building, then used some of the flask bombs that John provided to bring down the building on the Titan's head. War. The Daedric Titan was infuriated to the max and spread its wings and flew up, taking a full sight of the hollow city. His target was the annoying people that were commanding the undead and the soul-shriven. Annoying ants. Witnessed the power of Balzar. It said as it started spitting blue flames left and right without a certain aim. Help! This one needs help. Mister, Skittles shouted as the building beside him started to fall. What? John appeared beside him with a loud shout and punched the building with a thunder cookie, blasting it to pieces away. Shit, I had to use the Thursday. John was not happy about using it before the array was finished, but one word in that mess shouldn't cause much of a ruckus. Well, what was Mr.? Skittles looked at John with wide eyes. Are you done? John asked with a heavy tone. Yes. Good. Serana, let's roll. John wasn't going to waste more time. He was going to give it his all with the Titan now that the other Daedra were all dead. John, Nefertiti in her beast form, Serena in the vampire form, the sin of wrath Odakuro, and Zykel were all standing in one row in front of the Titan. What is this? What is the meaning of this? Balzar, the Daedric Titan, witnessed the sight of a vampire lord, a Dremora, a greater undead, and a were-beast all standing around mortal. The undead and the soul-shriven all gathered behind John and roared in unison. The strange sight was out of context when people talk about heroism and whatnot. John's situation made him more of a dreadlord surrounded by freaks and undead rather than a hero surrounded with righteousness and light. It was the Daedric Titan's time to look at John with wariness. John pointed at the Balzar and spoke. Bring that son of a bitch down. Roar. Everyone roared and mindlessly charged at the Daedric Titan, who also roared back and spewed its flames. The funny thing about this battle was its participants being all immortals other than John and Mr. Scattles. Still, immortals weren't all on the same level. Those undead and soul-shriven that charged at the Titan Balzar were nothing other than moth to the flame. The destructive power of the essence drain flame surely killed the soul-shriven, but the undead were walking unhindered. They're undead, so there was no essence to speak about from the get-go. Still, even if they reached the Titan, there was no way they could best it in melee. The Titan swung its axe-like tail, and all the opponents in melee ranges were shattered like glass. All except one. Wrath blocked the Daedric Titan with its large katana and faced it in 1:1. The 4 meters tall skeletal undead versus the 5 meters tall Daedric Titan, showcasing a scary amount of power in one exchange. Pile of bones break. Balzar was infuriated. Master, Saidina, Odakuro replied with a serious red light in its eyes. The slow words of the undead were completely the opposite of its speed. Odakuro was an extension of John's will and soul like greed, and bearing the sin of wrath made it as swift as wrath should be. Serana, Nefertiti, the two beasts charged at the same time. Serana swung her wings and reached above Balzar, then used the blood magic, vampiric grip, to hold the horns of the Titan and press it down. Balzar looked up and raised its head against Serana's magic, but a sudden attack came from his point blank. Nefertiti was appeared behind its hind legs and slashed them with her claws and shadow magic. Insolent. The Titan was about to wave its tail at Nefertiti, but John threw the mass of greed, and it held to the Titan's tail, then morphed into chains and held the tail away. As Serena managed to lower the head of the Titan, Odakuro moved as fast as it could and slashed at the Titan arms, pushing them away. It then arrived beside the Titan, raised its left leg, and pushed the Titan further down and cut the massive katana at the Titan's neck. Tink! The metallic clash sounded as the Titan's skin and the katana clashed hard. Unfortunately, the Titan's skin was simply too hard. Humph! Die! The Titan swung its wings and claws at John's comrades that were pinning it down and literally pushed them all away. It also prepared a strong cold flame breath to shower them with while they were stunned and defenseless. No, you won't. Fuss Aroda. Force, balance, push. John finally took action rather than managing the battle. The Titan was simply too OP at this rate. The unrelenting force shout clashed with the cold flame breath, and the clash was in Jon's favor. Actually, it was too much in his favor that the Titan was stunned and fell backward. Would not KSD, Whirlwind, Fury, Tempest, Jon's Whirlwind Sprint, charge him in a black beeline towards the Daedric Titan, and they collided physically. Jon was more prepared and put his all in an overcharged thunder cookie that carried the wrath of heavens. Asterisk crackle. Star. The sound of the clash and the flash that came out as if the original spirits were back at it again, like how they fought in the Dawn era. The shockwave that hammered in the Titan sent it flying in a building for it to fall on its head. Jon landed on his, but and stood up while rubbing it. See that, fucktard? I dare. Jon was in an excellent mood after sending the Daedric Titan flying with a bang. As Jon started to gather his strength back again, the land started to rumble. Motherfucker, take a rest, damn it. Your daddy needs a breather. Jon couldn't understand how the Titan was so lively. Mortal, you are doomed. The Titan went all out with a large-scale magical attack. It swung its wings, causing a strong wind to blow at Jon, and used a cold flame breath as a follow-up. Jon cast the quadrant ward of his, but the pressure seemed to be too strong. A flying figure crashed into Jon from the side and took him out of harm's way. Thanks, Serena. Seeing its attack rendered useless, Balzar was infuriated. Come to me. Balzar opened its maws and used its race's exclusive magic, swallowing souls. The magic destroyed the undead right away and started actually killing the soul-shriven. The vestiges in their bodies were being pulled out by Balzar and swallowed to power him up. Fuck, that's cheating. Cadwell, retreat. All retreat. Jon shouted and issued the command to retreat. Without him saying, everyone was already running. Nefertiti was stubborn as ever and ran the other way. She stealthy ran in the shadow, then came behind Balzar and held its front maw, falling with it down to the ground. Balzar crashed on its jaw, and its magic was cancelled. The Titan opened its eyes and stared at Nefertiti, who was in her beast form. The two beasts were having a staring contest. Asterisk growl. Star. The Titan growled at her. Asterisk hiss. Star. She hissed back at it. The staring contest was over, and Balzar swung its claws at the large cat. Nefertiti was way faster and crashed her paws 3 times on the Titan's head before escaping in shadow. The Titan was infuriated more and more. It looked for a target, but the target found him. Zykel was carrying a spear and jumping down from a high building toward Balzar, stabbing the spear in its left eye. Huh, take that, you sucker. Zykel will slay you and get back my glory. The Titan reacted by catching Zykel in its hand. The spear fell down, and the Titan used swallowing souls on Zykel. Aya! The sight was horrifying. Zykel was screaming with agony with all its being. In its 200 years of life as a low-ranked Daedra, it had never had the chance to participate in such a glorious fight, yet against a foe such as Balzar, his immortality was being rendered useless. The vestige inside him was being ensnared to be devoured. It was all too sudden. He didn't know. He wasn't ready yet. Immortal? Mortal? What kind of lie is that? A being with no power over its essence is never immortal, even if it has all eternity to live. Such an illusion. Zykel's vestige was completely out of his body and about to be swallowed by another Daedra. It was about to, yet another change happened. Zykel's vestige, which was supposed to be going inside the Titan's mouth, flew the other direction and entered a black gem with the shape of a star. Jon was standing there holding out the black star and casting Soul Trap at Zykel's vestige. Zykel's lifeless body lost power and ceased from functioning. Balzar the Titan looked at the lifeless corpse and threw it away like a rag doll. Useless traitor. Balzar turned around and looked at Jon. Lowly mortal, you fought well, but nothing you do can graze me. You will lose. I won't take advice from shitty Daedra. Lesser life forms like you should just act like the worms they are. Jon cussed back. His habit of looking down on Daedra was as sharp as ever. Mortal, don't you have eyes? Don't you see what I am and what you are? You are a mortal doomed from the hour you were born. I am a Daedric Titan created by Lord Molag Bal to be dragons of my own. Dragons even mightier than those of Nirn. The words of the Daedric Titan Balzar echoed everywhere far and wide in the muffle and mirage array. It caused every being to shiver once they heard them in such a deep, strong voice. The Titan was satisfied with the expressions of terror that appeared on everyone's face, but three figures were looking at it with scary faces. Scary was an underestimation. John, Nefertiti, and Odakuro. Those three were actually part of one being whose core is John. They shared the same thoughts, mental state, and senses. With their piercing gazes, the Titan noticed what is wrong. The aura of the three beings resonated in an unforeseen feat and spoke in three voices at the same time, with the same tone and volume. Saligdera, Wazalkrat du Fazrat du Di Zaliak, Nalfail Lakavak Ark Fail Zul Kozil, Zufent Morhin Bien Re Watrof Orenhin Waliak Vis, Ne Risan Isaac. Kren, Faz Ziu Dovakian, pathetic Deidre, to utter a word of insult about my brethren. By the sky above and the voice within, I shall render your foul essence to shreds. Even your maker can never put it back. Break, four-eyed dragonborn. John's tyrant aura roared. Nine-fired WIRMS broke out of John's body and assaulted the Daedric Titan from every corner in its body. A mournful roar came out of its mouth, but other 9 roars were ravaging through its inside, or rather, its essence. A few seconds later, the Daedric Titan fell on the ground without a beat. Its very essence was shattered. Chapter 377, Pride. One day until the Battle of Winterhold. The dust settled down long ago, and the Hollow City became quiet. The soul shriven that managed to reincarnate returned to the city and manned the walls. Sir Cadwell made sure that everything stays in order for the time being. The Hollow City's center was the plaza of the Chapel of Light, where the final battle with the Daedric Titan Balzar happened. The gigantic corpse of the Daedric Titan was lying on the ground lifelessly. Odakuro was guarding it too. East of that site, there was a large and beautiful building made of white stone in the Cyrodiilic Aeolid style. This Chapel of Light was the place which used to be used to worship the Daedric Prince Meridia. John was sitting on the stairway outside, the building resting his head on his arms while hanging it down. He was clearly tired, but that wasn't all. He was not speaking. I can understand why the boy is not talking. My brain was about to buzz out by his speech just now, but it was absolutely marvelous. Still, how do you people keep your sanity with all that Nord-like shouting? Sir Cadwell was looking at John from afar. Don't ask me. Not anyone could do what he did, as far as I know. Sir Anna replied. HM, I thought your hubby and you were open on these things. I am sorry, dear. Sometimes men have to keep some secrets from their love. Sir Cadwell started babbling. I'm going to stop you there. There is nothing between me and Krylin. Sir Anna said with an annoyed face. Really? But the way you looked at each other. I bet my pot that you two will fit quite nicely together with all the mad shouting and the vampire transformation thing you guys do. Sir Anna looked at Sir Cadwell with cold eyes, and he stopped talking right away. By the way, why doesn't Mr. Krylin talk? Is he sad for his Draymore friend? Mr. Skittles asked. Don't ask me. Maybe he's tired. Sir Anna said. Homan won't be able to talk for a while, said a small child in a fancy black robe and black cat ears on her head. And who might you be, young lass? This place is dangerous. Sir Cadwell crouched down for the girl. She is the cat. Sir Anna replied. Hey, why isn't he talking? Homan talked too much, so he can't talk now. Nefertiti said. Talk too much? Is it like a side effect? No, if he talks right now, you will get hurt. His voice is strong. Oh, I see, I understand now. Sir Anna seemed to have picked up a clue. What is it? Is the thing about the magic he used, the Thursdayum. People who practice the Thursdayum can attain a certain level of power where their voices and their Thursdayum are so close that they can't speak normally anymore. If they spoke, their voices would come out as strong as the Thursdayum they shout. The ancient King Wolfhearth was like that, as he couldn't vow his oath after the moot when he became a king and had to sign the vows on a paper. But I can't believe Krylin attained that level of power in this age. He is so young. Serana said. Sir Cadwell and Mr. Skittles seemed to have a faint idea of what Serana was talking about. The Nords shouting their enemies around was the normal image non-Nords have about Nords. He says that he has rested long enough. Nefertiti spoke what's on John's mind. John seemed to be standing up and turned around to the chapel. In his hand, he had the black star, which Zykil's soul was trapped in. John stored it away and took out his sword. As he walked to the gate of the chapel, the other followed closely and waited for him until he pushed the gate open. The inside of the chapel was exceedingly dark. The cloud of gloom outside the chapel seemed to be a leakage of what's inside it. "Oh dear," Sir Cadwell exclaimed. "You know what that is?" Serana asked. "It seems the light in this place was stolen." Sir Cadwell said, "These things only happen in the lightless oubliette. Never thought I'd see it here." "What are you talking about?" "The lightless oubliette is the place where the servants of Lady Meridia are imprisoned. There are things out there called the essence of darkness employed by Molag Bal to absorb any manner of light energy and lock it away. Add that to the Daedric magic, and it will be a hazardous area that mages would run away from. Nasty business as always." Sir Cadwell briefed. "I can handle it," Nefertiti said. Everyone looked at her with wide eyes. "What?" "The shadow world has those things too," she said and walked inside the chapel on her own. A few minutes later, the light started to gradually return to the inside of the chapel as the gloom started to break off. John walked inside and found Nefertiti standing at the other end of the chapel. There seemed to be an altar with a medium-sized chest. "You should stand back," Nefertiti said to Serana, and the latter remained outside the chapel. John walked to the chest, followed by Sir Cadwell, and opened it. A strong, pure, white radiation came from the chest, so John closed it immediately. "Do you know how to restore Meridia's beacons?" Nefertiti asked Sir Cadwell. "Yes, it is really simple and easy. You just need to fit all the pieces together. A simple magic trick." John nodded. "Then please clear the place," Nefertiti said. Sir Cadwell nodded and reluctantly left behind the fragments of Meridia's light he had. Everyone left the old chapel, leaving John and Nefertiti behind. John and Nefertiti looked at each other. "You're doing it?" she asked. "Yes, I have only one shot. I don't care about the Daedra, and I don't really bother about the Hollow City. But if they want my help, they have to accept it as it comes. Meridia has long abandoned this place, and assembling her beacons is fruitless." However, John put the chest on the ground and opened it for the shimmering light to take over the area. He waited until his eyes adapted and examined it again. "This will serve my purposes greatly." John took out the soul sigil stone, the ebony alloy, Kind's Tears, the Elder Gleam branch, and the Elder Scroll of Sun. "Do it," John said, and Nefertiti disappeared from her place, going on an errand. He sat for her. Time passed, and the ones outside were oblivious to what is going inside. John's plan was going smoothly. He sat on the ground, surrounded by some of the rarest of the rare materials, fragments carrying a crazy supply of the pure energy of life. A special sigil stone that contains the essence of a 1,000 soul, a Daedric alloy made of the hardest metal around the world, sacred flowers with the purification powers of Kind, a branch from the oldest living tree in the world, and an Elder Scroll. In John's book, those rare beauties were to be handled by absolute carefulness. He touched every piece of those things as if he was touching a virgin maiden waiting for him while covering her naked body with pure white sheets. In his eyes, each and every piece of those gave off that image. It was as if he was back in his house, surrounded by his girls in the middle of the heat. John sighed and brushed the image away. He hasn't been with them since the day he got captured, and finally he is this close to return home. First, he took out one of Wulfr's furnaces from the cube and started smelting the ebony alloy following Wulf's instructions. Second, he put the sacred flowers in an alchemy device and started extracting their essence, which came down like white crystal drops. The third was the most crucial step. John took those pure drops of Kind's tears and prepared a basin filled with the most precious alchemy solvent in the world. This solvent was prepared by Master Nerelian, who left Somerset Isles with a few drops of it and managed to mass-produce it with the help of the White Phial. As a co-owner of the White Phial artifact, John managed to swindle Master Nerelian for a big amount of that solvent. This solvent's name was Lorcan's Tears. The alchemy solvents were actually purified waters which were graded as natural, clear, pristine, cleansed, filtered, and purified water. Rarer than those are the Cloud Mist, Stardew, and Lorcan's Tears. Yes, so alchemy system. The mix of Kind's Tears and Lorcan's Tears was simply poetic. John could hear the sound of pure music coming out each time the water ripples. That was how pure it was. With every Kind's Tear drop added to the mix, that water was getting purer and purer until John could feel his soul being stolen away by the miraculous mix. If one puts some rock from the roadside in that water, the rock may turn into silver and the water will never be stained. With the last drop of Kind's Tears falling in Lorcan's Tears, the mix reached a stage of purity never seen before in the world. Kind's Tears may be a sacred flower, but Lorcan's Tears are only associated with Lorcan because of how difficult it came to be, and the elves were the ones who called it like that. It was akin to crocodile's tears or canary's milk, as all things impossible to come by. Now the top-grade solvent was outranked by another substance of higher purity, the water that was akin to the pure white crystal, forcing John to call it the crystal ether. John now owns a small basin filled with that substance. He can only imagine what sort of chaos Master Nerelian will make when he sees this. The ironic thing was Kind's and Lorcan's association with this. Both original spirits were known as lovers, and that was admitted by the elves, Khajiit, and humans. And the fourth step came. John took the Eldergleam branch, the soul sigil stone, and all the fragments of the light of Meridia, then dipped the mix in the crystal ether. He was not trying to do anything other than observing the beauty of how the crystal ether worked. John saw all the dirt, impurities, and negativity in the three items being dissolved, then eaten away. John frowned for a bit. There was no muddiness in the crystal ether thus far, and yet it seemed to be working just fine. He hesitantly took out a finger and dipped it in the water. John didn't feel any wetness on his finger despite feeling the water. He took it out and felt it, but there was no hint of water at all. This has transcended the physics itself. John calmed down, then dipped his whole hand and tried to take out some water with his palm, but somehow the water slid very fast back into the basin. John put his hand again and again, but there was no point. The blessing of Molag Bal was absorbed. What the actual fuck? What kind of absurdity did I create this time? Even John was at his wit's end. He could see the mix of Kind's Tears and Lorcan's Tears creating something absurd, but it had to at least be a normal solvent that follows the normal laws of alchemy and physics, not some sort of moody, anti-Daedra, super purification substance. Well, nothing was normal the last few days. John dismissed the worries, trying to convince himself that everything was just fine. He sighed and looked at the ebony alloy that seemed to have been fully smelted now. The fifth step started to take form. John took out the soul sigil stone and started to examine it. The azure color was long gone by purification, and the crystal orb was now carrying a strange appearance. It was either a white stone with black shade moving inside it or a black stone with white shade. John couldn't really tell. But the most important thing is that the stone was already out of Molag Bal's influence too. Old Molly's going to be pissed. John laughed to himself and continued the work. He took out the Eldergleam branch that was also purified, but not a lot of change was seen. The light of Meridia fragments has been through a change. Instead of radiating strong, pure white energy of light, they now radiate a gentle and warm energy. John could tell that Meridia's power in those fragments was gone since a long time ago, The remaining influence was just some residual energy that should wane out in another 1,000 years or so. The main parts were now ready. John had a plan in mind to create a teleportation artifact that can rip through oblivion, but his plans have already changed. Another thing was in his mind. John turned off the magical furnace that was smelting the ebony alloy and started controlling the liquid with telekinesis. A lot of control was needed, so John chugged on his best magicka regeneration potion and exerted all his power to lift up to the smelt metal. With the other hand, he took the Elder Gleam branch and stuck its end in the smelted ebony. A normal branch would burn right away, but not an Elder Gleam branch. John's power started shaping the metal around the end of the branch, and then came to a halt. His telekinesis was cast on the fragments of the light of Meridia, and they flew upwards to revolve around the Elder Gleam branch and the smelted ebony alloy. The alloy started to take form like a net of crossed threads, and at every crossing, a fragment of the light of Meridia was attached to the hot metal. With every inch on the long branch, the net of the ebony alloy and the crystal fragments took form and rose up to the top of the branch. The appearance was formed with the metal forming a handle at the neck of the branch, and the head was left hollow and waiting for the final piece. John took the sigil stone of 1,000 souls and stuck it on top of the branch with the remaining smelt metal and crystal fragments, making a crown-like finish over the sigil stone. And a staff took form. Not like any, none like other. By cast cold ebony, created by the Daedra of Coldharbour, by many fragments of the remnants of the shimmering light, by a branch of the eldest soul on Nirn, by a sigil stone containing 1,000 purified souls. John caressed the head of the staff that would fit in his fist and smiled. Even though it was still burning hot, his blood was boiling hotter. John took the staff and put in the basin of crystal ether. The pure water absorbed the heat and purified the ebony around the staff. John took his staff and held it for the first time. He held it close to his bosom as if the most beautiful girl in the world. The head was an orb with a crown of crystal. The end was a sharp, piercing tip of ebony. The energy network was made of crystal fragments protected by the power of the ebony, and the core was an indestructible wood of the Elder Gleam. John couldn't tell what kind of magic can this staff cast. After all, these materials were gathered to cast a fate magic, and the staff was not even enchanted yet. There was simply no method available to enchant such a staff yet, until it arrived. Phew, human, that took me a while. Nefertiti appeared from the shadow world with some large stones with her. She positioned them in place of the altar in the chapel, as John instructed earlier to her departure. This was not some regular large stones. This was the old Shrine of Kine, which was abandoned south of the shrouded plain where Kine's tears grew. Good job. John praised her right away. He started storing everything he took out other than the staff he just made and the Elder Scroll of Sun. John's voice was still hyped from the shouting he made, and he wouldn't waste the power in his voice. The elders said to strike the iron when it's hot. John approached the Shrine of Kine that took the central position in the chapel and placed the staff on the sacred runestone on it. He then took the Elder Scroll and positioned it in front of him. A few deep breaths later, John closed his eyes to not get blinded by the effect of the Elder Scroll and held it from the two handles left and right, then opened it. The inner parchment slid down and a gush of mystic energy came out. John could feel the realm around him reacting. It seems that the Daedra finally noticed there was no time. John used the voice and spoke not in the dragon tongue, but in the common one, yet the words came from him like a breath of storm. He was not reading the scroll, he was speaking to it. Hold, Daedra of the foul plain. Sister Hawk, grant us your sacred breath to make this contract heard. Begone, Stonefire. By words with ones better than you, I break your domain. May you never reach these grounds. John sent out a strong energy wave around the hollow city. The gloomy sky above the hollow city started to appear blue and clear, as if a hole was torn heaven for the warm light to come down. John was not yet done. Now that he fought off the Daedric influence, he had another thing to do. He turned to the staff and started speaking through the scroll. In the name of Kine, in the name of Shore, in the name of Atmara of old. You are pride, you are the elder's staff, you are the staff of magic extremity, you are part of me. John spoke the words and threw out a number of heartstones, then spoke the final word. Gila, enchant. Chapter 378, A Happy Ending. Cold Harbor was never the same since that day. The scale of chaos that broke around the realm was unheard of ever since Plain Meld was stopped and Molag Bal Spiky Put was kicked. The hollow city that broke out of Cold Harbor's control was something out of the blue, green, red, and all the concerned colors. Chaotic as it was, the inside of the hollow city was quiet and silent. The soul, shriven, saw the sky they never saw in many years. Some knelt down, some hid their eyes from the light, and some basked in its warmth. The decree that John created with the Elder Ones was beyond the forces of oblivion. John understood the Elder Scrolls to some extent. They always followed the rules of fair exchange. What the Moth Priests and the other people associated with the Elder Scrolls didn't understand was the relationship of give and take that the Elder Scrolls work with. They give knowledge in exchange for things like lifespan or the sense of sight. The Moth Priests employed the mystic energy of the ancestor moth and used it to give and take powers with the Elder Scrolls. Also, the Elder Scroll had a very unique function. They were the artifacts that gather the songs, events of Nirn and bring them to. John did something similar. In order to have the protection of the Elder Scroll, John sacrificed 2 levels of his cultivation, causing his power to drop to level 1, Ebon Blood stage. That was fair compared to protecting the Hollow City and getting back on Molag Bal. John also uses the Elder Scroll to enchant the staff, exchanging 7 precious heartstones in the process. One may wonder, how does this Elder Scroll work? The Elder Scrolls are artifacts of great power that can show the past, the present, and the future, but that was merely the tip of the iceberg. John read once that the Elder Scrolls are associated with the chief of the Magnagu, Magnus. A reminder, the Magnagu are a group of original spirits that escaped Mundus during the times of creation, a faction third to the Edra and the Daedra. They reside in the immortal plane of Aetherius. Magnus is chief of the Magnagu and the architect of Mundus. The staff and the eye of Magnus are his. John knelt on the ground, coughing out blood, as losing 2 realms of cultivation was just too much on his body, which almost broke from the inside. Was it worth it to protect the Hollow City? Who knows? He just wanted to do so. Maybe his redemption for killing thousands. Maybe his way to put salt in Molag Bal's eyes. Maybe he just wanted to do so without any care about his cultivation. He can climb up those realms in no time anyway. John cleaned the place and put away the Elder Scrolls. Nefertiti reluctantly helped him up, and the 2 looked at the Kine shrine. On its altar, there floated a staff. It arrogantly floated around with a golden light aura come from it. John and Nefertiti looked at it, and admiration filled their eyes. John walked forward and stretched his hand to take the staff. As soon as he was about to touch it, the staff backed away from him. John frowned hard. He tried again to take it, but the staff still moved away. Hey, get over here. John was about to stomp the ground in anger, but Nefertiti spoke. Human, I think it wants you to take it with style. Style? Like stand on my hands and take it with my feet? Not acrobatic. It is a prideful weapon. Nefertiti hinted. Uh-huh. John got the gist. He thought for a second, and then stood in a haughty pose and opened his palm. Come. With that word, the staff flew in a beautiful arc towards John's hand and positioned itself as it saw fit. John cringed in his mind, but he barely kept a smile. It seems that a troublesome monkey has joined the circus. John grasped the staff tightly, and the latter shivered from excitement as it immersed itself in its master's power. John carried the staff up and kept looking at its details left and right. It surely was a gorgeous little thing. Pride was not as large as other staves, but it was something between a staff and a cane. Its end was covered with ebony and had a pointy heel fit for stabbing. Its shaft was wooden smooth to perfection with lines of ebony crossing each other and a white crystal inlaid at each crossing. Its top was collared with an ebony handle that fit John's grip and the sigil stone on top of it, with white crystals forming crown-like appearance on top of the sigil stone. If one focused on the shaft and the handle, one can see dragon runes engraved on them with the power of John's voice. John took a deep breath as he admired his work. The enchantment of the staff was calling for him to just use it already. As you wish. John tapped with the staff's heel on the ground only once, and the magicka of the surroundings started to react wildly. The chapel of light that was ruined from the inside started to vibrate, and every piece of broken furniture, every strand of dust, the walls, the floor, the ceiling, everything started to come back together. The chapel looked as if it was fixing itself from the inside. That was only due to the power of the staff, fueled by John's magicka and will. What sort of spell can put everything back together like that? A time spell? An alteration spell? John didn't know. He only imagined the place getting back together to shape and told the staff just took the necessary amount of magicka needed. This is the enchantment. The sin of pride, the elder staff. The deadliest of sins, and one of the strongest staves in the world, which has the potential to rival the staff of chaos and the staff of Magnus. Its other names are the staff of power and fate, the staff of magic extremity, and the wish upon a star. None of these names was called by John. He only called it pride and the elder staff. These names were to be later recognized by the Elder Scrolls themselves, but that's a story for another time. John looked around at the interior of the chapel that got its beauty back together and all the dust out. It was truly marvelous. Human, does this mean I am not cleaning after myself again? Nope. All the toilet paper you savagely murder is your mess to clean. Ugh, meanie. John ignored the moody cat, and his eyes landed on the staff again. Human, how many enchantments you put on it? One. Ow, here, hold it. John offered the staff to Nefertiti, which was a bit taller than her. The staff was constructed by fate magic, an echo of my voice, and got enchanted by an elder scroll. It has a certain degree of intelligence to understand the wielder's will and create any magic with the right amount of magicka available. To make it easier, it makes whatever I imagine. Like anything, exactly. Shadow magic? Let's see. John held pride and imagined some shadow projectile shooting out as magic. And as he wished, several shadow bolts, which Nefertiti usually shoots, were cast towards the ground. Wow, wind magic. John cast Alina's magic and made the air around move gently. Fish magic. You greedy little fluff, there's no such magic. Home and do it. Here. John took out a smoked fish from the cube and handed her to Nefertiti. Go chew on it away. I think it is about time to see what happened out there. John walked to the gate of the chapel and opened it for the warm light to go in, carrying the warmth of life. I still can't believe Lady Meridia abandoned us. How sad. Even though we got on famously, such a charming, lovely woman. What a shame. I don't think your emotions alone would be enough, Sir Cadwell. Meridia demands love, and people loved her not. Her light will never reach them. I get you. Sir Cadwell nodded. At least you returned to me with this. In his hand, there was a white crystal formed from the fragments he gave to John. John made sure to put them back for Cadwell. Anyway, you will be now mayor of this lovely place, so cheer up. John said as he pointed out the new hollow city. Things have indeed changed. Now there was an actual sky in the sky, the air smelled better, and the place was much warmer. When John made a pact with Kine through the Elder Scroll, Kine granted the ground of the hollow city her breath, and it became a realm of its own. It was still an oblivion and a pocket realm of Cold Harbor, but it was protected from any influence from Molag Bal. The place was still accessible through Cold Harbor, but it was in Cold Harbor no more. The land around the hollow city were green and beautiful, with a few creeks of clear water flowing and a mountain range surrounding the city, but that was the end of the realm. It was just that, a place disconnected from Cold Harbor and a safe haven for the soul shriven that will manage to reach it in the future. Sir Cadwell looked around the place with John, then shook his head. Tempting offer, Kryla, my boy, but I will decline. If you ask me, it's a dreadfully dull place, and a real eyesore at that. Suit yourself. So what will you be doing? John asked. Well, as you know, I prefer my cold harbor with a no Tamriel in it, so I'll be returning there. Maybe I'll look after those who escape the eternal servitude thing and guide them here. A bit of salt in the Daedra's eyes, if you ask me. Ah, my thoughts exactly. Farewell, Sir Cadwell. And fare thee well, Krylin and lovely Anares. John, Serana, and Mr. Skittles took their leave and gathered around the corpse of the Daedric Titan, Balzar. So, what now, Mr. Krylin? This one has assisted you this far. Are you able to take me back to my home? Mr. Skittles asked. Sure. I have obtained a mean back to Mundus. Do you know the place you want to go? Yes, my hometown Riverhold between the Cyrodiilic Bravel and the Khajiit Rim Inn. Mr. Skittles said. Good. We will open a portal there after we finish one last errand regarding my friend Anares here. But before we do that, John said and took out the Black Star, the unbreakable soul gem that contains Zykil's soul. He pointed the Black Star at the lifeless corpse of the Daedric Titan, Balzar. He let his aura ravage Balzar's vestige and break in the fight, which means Balzar is no longer there and completely killed. This body of a Daedric Titan is but an empty shell right now. It would be a shame to let it rot. John pointed his staff's head at the Black Star, which was pointed at the Daedric Titan's corpse, and said the magic word. Rise! Chapter 379, Farewells. Big thanks to Stephen Clough Parkinson Jr. and at Jonathan Murphy for the support. You guys are awesome. Castle Fokihar. A portal appeared over the castle in a blind spot to the surveillance. A small black creature jumped out of it and started looking left and right. Once all was safe, she called out. It is clear. Not a second later, a bigger portal appeared for 3 humanoids in disguise to walk out of it. The creature disappeared in its shadow, and the 3 humanoids looked at each other. This place gives Mr. Skittles bad vibes. Is that an undead bird? This one hates undead birds. Mr. Skittles' fur was erected from the foul air around Castle Fokihar. Why are you returning back here? Serana asked John. As I said, one last errand. We can't leave without losing our tail. John said as he waved his staff around, and as I started seeing what is inside the castle through the walls. Of course, they were on top of it. John surveyed the situation silently. It seems that Lord Harkon is not here as well as many vampires. The place was a mess, and every one of the lesser and high-ranking vampires were on guard. Even the thralls and the gargoyles were on watch. The place is a mess as a hornet nest, John said with a big smile. Is father here? Of course not. How can he stay home when what is precious to him is missing? John said with a mocking tone. Serana seemed down when she heard that. I am sorry. That was not even funny. It's okay. The awkwardness was a bit unneeded right now. So, what are we going to do? Serana thought. With the mess made by the Sith in Cold Harbor right now, the first place your father will suspect us is where the mess is happening. He even took all the big goons with him. Won't that reveal your identity? If you got caught, I say you kidnapped me, you know. Serana said. How cold? John sighed. Don't worry, I have a good idea, but before that. John waved pride towards the transliminal scanner on top of the watchtower, and the thing moved from its place and flew towards John. John hurriedly took it in the cube. I always wanted to have one of those. Mr. Krylin, you really fit to be a Khajiit, no? Mr. Skittles, it would be an honor. As he got what he wanted, John led the way to the main objective through the roof. Right above the cathedral of the castle, John cast his magic, and appeared leading directly to it. John, Serna, and Mr. Skittles jumped down to find themselves in the center of the cathedral. This is... Mr. Skittles was on guard. Some dangerous place, John said, and walked to the shrine at the end of the room. He took a look through the sink filled with the blood that powered the domain of Castle Fokihar, and smiled, when he sat the deformed briar-heart vine lying dormant and feeding on the high-quality blood. Serana approached and looked at it too. "That what you came back for?" she asked. "Yes, this greedy little thing, well, the final piece of the puzzle. Lucky for us, Harkon didn't discover it thus far, so we are safe. Right now, I'm going to seal that thing in the shrine and erase its presence. The effect will remain for a couple of years at the very least." John said, "Meaning, we are sabotaging the domain's source of power without anyone noticing. With this, your father won't be able to employ his domain's powers and travel back to Nirn. Some time of peace for us. After all, we can't let your father chase us all that time or harm my Winterhold when I'm not around." John took out the skeleton key and started to apply all sorts of seals on the Briarheart vine and the blood shrine. "You really planned it all," Serana said. "Charming me with blood, tricking my father that you're fully under his control while showing a facade of resistance, breaking out and making an act, making some absurd things, and getting back on a date or prince, then coming back and sealing the plan." John smiled behind his mask. "What do you think of it? Well played." "Indeed." Serana smiled wryly. "What's next?" "We leave a message, then get the hell out of here." John pointed pride at the ground, then strong energy of light shot out and started carving the symbol of the Sith Empire on the ground of the cathedral. John left his autograph as Krylon behind too. The light energy was obviously felt by the vampires outside the room. Some of them rushed in with alarming expressions, only to see the strong white light breaking their bodies and turning them to ash. None could survive a blast from the violent light. Damn, reproducing Meridia's energy is very much of a burden. Actually, this staff is really aggressive on Magicka. John had to admit that Pride's power required a lot of Magicka. When he casts a spell he doesn't know the principle of, it was a burden yet a fair trade at the same time. "I think this is enough as a message," John said, and turned to the ones following him. "Mr. Skittles, put your hands on the staff and imagine the place you want to go. Don't do anything else." "Just that?" "Yes." Mr. Skittles followed John's instructions and put his hand on Pride. The staff seemed a bit displeased to be touched by someone else other than John, yet John was still feeding it Magicka. As soon as Mr. Skittles' thoughts of his home surfaced, John could pin a certain location on Nirn. "Here we go." With a strong gush of Magicka, a portal started to form, breaking the laws of the domain, which forbade teleportation. The domain shook, but John was more powerful at the point, with Pride at hand and the Briarheart vine draining the domain. What is important is that a portal was now open to Nirn. "Go!" John pushed Mr. Skittles forward, and the latter stepped in the portal. He looked at Serana and gave her a hand, but what he didn't expect happened. "I am sorry, John," Serana said. "I think this is as far as your charm go." "Well, what?" John got flustered right away. Serana and John met eye to eye. He even took off his mask and kept looking at her. "Come on, there is no time for that." "It's okay," she said. "You can go without me. I can't leave." "What are you talking about? Your father will be trapped here. Your mother is hidden. The Elder Scroll is with me. You don't need to stay in this hellhole." "This hellhole is my home," she said with a warm smile. "You are the one who should leave. If I am to leave with you, my father will stop at nothing to get us and the scroll back. Only me staying here to leave a message will perfect your act." John's face grew desperate. "Come on. I don't need it to be perfect. I want you with me out there. There's a whole world for you to see and many things to do. The caves that you hate and Skyrim's beautiful weather. A ton of adventure is out there." She kept smiling. "I guess I'm not as daring as you are." John smiled, turned bitter. "You just call me by my name for the first time. You're getting better." She laughed. "I guess I'm still learning, but you need to understand, I can't leave. Not right now. I don't have anyone out there. I'll be lost, and I will regret it. I'm afraid, John. The places you talk about, the people who wait for you, it won't look good for me to show up with you. Not right now." "Please." "No, I'm the one asking. Please, don't do anything rash and go home. I care about you a lot. You are my first friend out there. We are friends, right?" "Friend? I will never be friend zoned by you." John walked closer to her with a calm look. Baby steps, John. Baby steps. She put her hand on his chest to keep him at bay, but it was her who got closer after a second's thought. They looked at each other and smiled. Nothing was there except to stuff that bitterness deep and avert their eyes, but an urge of desire electrified through them, and they got even closer for their lips to print a slow kiss on their others. As they took a distance, John kept looking at her, and she kept looking at him. Tell me, Serana, was my blood that effective? Silly you. Of course not. It tastes sweet, though. Damn. And here, I thought another sip will change your mind. If things were that simple. Their foreheads touched one another, and they closed their eyes. If something happened to you here, I swear I will tear down this place brick by brick. John said. A strong claim, but don't worry. The castle will be stuck in Cold Harbor for 2 years, and I will have plenty of time to read books and go around the place. Maybe I will go and visit the Hollow City and Sir Cadwell now that everything looks bright. Okay, I never thought you would want to stay behind. Time to go, John. You can go and halt the prophecy for a couple of years, right? Whatever you wish for, my cute little fangs. John took a few steps back without turning. They smiled at each other, and she nodded to him. As soon as his hand touched the portal, he was sucked through, and the portal closed itself. Serana kept looking at the place where John disappeared and kept silent for a few minutes before taking a deep breath and looking around the place. She felt a strong surge of regret, but it was too late, and she had to do so. Feeling an aura approaching, she evoked a strong flame spell on her hand, then pointed it at herself. That's gonna hurt, she said, and detonated the spell on her body. That should make things believable. Tamriel, elsewhere. John walked out of the portal only for his face to be assaulted by a strong heat wave and a lot of sand. He closed his eyes to adapt to that weather he didn't get to feel since his reincarnation, and then opened his eyes slowly. The face he saw right in front of his made him smile, wryly. Am I really that miserable? It was a camel looking at him, eye to eye in a very close distance. John raised his hand and pushed the camel's face away. Mr. Krylin, is that you? A voice called for John. John looked on the camel's back only to see Mr. Skittles riding on it. You got yourself some cool ride right there, Mr. Skittles. Haha. A caravan was passing, and this one traded it for some of those cheap gems. Good for you. This one must offer you something nice. We got a place up to the north, come up. John shook his head. Some other time for sure. I'm still in a hurry. Where will you go in the middle of this desert? Portals always do the trick, Mr. Skittles. Skyrim is up north. Then this one wishes you luck. Make sure to visit. We will sink you with moon sugar in Riverhold. I'll take that as a promise. Fare thee well. John nodded and opened another portal. The destination was Skyrim, Falkreath Hold to Peak's Shade Tower. Some items were needed for John to heal himself back to shape. Chapter 380, Hiring a Mercenary. The 5K Votes Chapter. Falkreath. 2 silhouettes could be seen clashing the forest. The sound of their blades crossing each other was akin to the sound of a high-pitched, untasteful music. One side was moving leisurely, while the other was retreating while clenching his teeth. The fight was completely one-sided, and the chaser was playing with his opponent like a child. Not fair, damn it. Not fair. You started it. The first voice was that of a Breton youth, and the second was John's. The Breton youth who was fighting John while jumping nimbly from one place to the other was totally fed up with John's attitude. Listen, laborer of Azura, I was told to bring that, and I am sure it doesn't involve your labor. Can I just... No. John cut the youth's words short as he unleashed an energy attack for Bloodskull. Stop it. Fuck. And the chase kept going. It will be easier for you if you tell me how do you know about me, and how did you find out what I was looking for. Also, hand it over. In your dreams. Do you really want to go through that all over again? John smiled and launched his sword towards the Breton youth. The latter was jumping away and had no use of evading midair. He only used his blade and hit John's sword to give himself some space to evade and landed with a backflip. As the youth was about to run again, his own shadow assaulted him and he tripped on the ground. John landed beside the youth and tossed greed at him completely to immobilize the annoying Breton. Thanks, Manmare. You really saved me a lot of time digging around. John looked at the silver-haired Breton and thanked him with a flick to the forehead. TSK, give that back. The Breton was completely enraged by John's action and started shouting, but he was already in the grasps of greed. John took out a small wooden box and opened it to find a Dwemer device that looked like the Haven Cube. It was called the Attunement Crystal. It was the reason why John chose to make a stop at Falkreath before heading back home. John flipped his hand, and the Attunement Crystal disappeared in the cube like a magic trick. John winked to the Breton and then looked around. You can show yourself now. I know you are around. As he spoke, two figures showed themselves. The first was a human woman who was also a Breton, short black hair and black makeup on her pale skin. She was wearing a very revealing gypsy dress and many accessories. The second was none other than John's prophet, Arania Ionith, the priestess of Azura. I suppose that answers some questions, John said as he saw Arania showing up. Now, will you be so kind and tell me why are you interfering in my business? His aura locked on the two women, showing no mercy towards them. Seems like the Daedra were trying to sabotage his plans for some reason. John recalled what happened just some time ago. An hour ago, when he arrived through a portal to Falkreath, he had a plan in his mind to look for a certain thing hidden on an old skeleton that was somewhere around Peak's Shade Tower. As soon as he spread his magicka to search, he found a certain person digging through the ground and taking hold of the attunement crystal he was after. John couldn't tell how someone beat him to something none should know about, as it was some of the official mods he added to his game before, but he wasn't going to let it go. It also seemed that the other party was expecting his arrival as soon as he detected John's magicka. That man was a Breton who was a cut above the rest among his own kin. He was tall and buff like a Greek god with silver hair and piercing blue eyes. He looked a bit older than John with the beard and all that, but the age difference wasn't that vast. As a fearsome warrior as the Breton is, he was also an unbelievably strong conjurer that shocked John for sure. He could conjure a group of Dremora that dressed in a unique Spartan fashion and fought as a well-trained battalion. At first, the Breton conjured over 100 Dremora warriors that tried to chase John away, but John conjured a single Daedra creature that took care of all of them in a few moves. The Breton was shocked senseless and tried to escape from John, but the latter was as playful as ever and stopped him. In the end, retrieving the attunement crystal and revealing the presence of the two women that seemed to be following. So this is the laborer of Azura? The strange woman spoke with playful eyes. Yes, he is also a dangerous man. Please control your actions. Priestess Aranius said, Am I some zoo animal? Why do I feel like some zoo animal? John asked himself, then looked at Arania. I think I asked you a question just now. Why are you people interfering in my business? The things you are trying to acquire, do you have any idea how powerful they are? Arania asked John. And what? You are the troublemaker prophesied with 3 Elder Scrolls. Gaining those things is totally as bad as having 3 Elder Scrolls. Ha ha. So Azura was up to the thing I am about to do? What? Is she afraid that I might break the pact between me and her to not continue the labor? John laughed and said. Arania looked at John with wide eyes, then took a few seconds to calm down. Yes, among other things. You are far too reckless to hold those items. What happened in Cold Harbor has already reached the ears of the other Daedric princes. Really? But that has nothing to do with me. It is all those Sith people. John said with a sly smile. We know. Those Sith, or whatever, are being searched for by the forces of Oblivion for now. You're the last man who saw them, if I am not wrong. Well, as you see, they helped me escape to Molag Bal and the vampires, so our deal was to keep things hush-hush. I gave my word. John's conversation with Arania made the other 2 present people frown. There's a way to break the pact of the labors. The man said, "What foul method is that?" The woman asked. John looked at them with a smile. "Will you please introduce us?" Arania sighed and nodded. "This woman is known as the Gypsy, and that man is called Brahm of Gehenna, a mercenary active around Markarth and Solitude. He is a laborer, and she is his prophet." "I see, wait. Brahm of Gehenna, a mercenary. I remember now. Brahm of the Daedric band. Was it you?" John looked at the famous mercenary who was being hanged by greed on a tree. "Brahm the Breton, a sponsored character by Mr. MacGuffin. Can you at least give me some dignity back?" Brahm asked. "No, TSK. Hey, you said something about breaking the pact of the labor, right? Can you really do that?" "Not really. I am not planning to do it anyway, but I think it is possible when someone attains a certain level of power. The prophet of yours should at least know that, right?" John said and looked at the woman called the Gypsy. "I don't know what you are talking about." The woman snorted and looked away. "Figures. What Daedra is that woman associated with?" John asked. "The Gypsy is a priestess of Sanguine, the Daedric prince of hedonistic revelry, debauchery, and passionate indulgences of darker natures." Arania said, "Well, well, well. Charmed, charmed indeed." John made an understanding face. "You too? Handsome." The Gypsy winked at John. Sanguine was the Daedric prince associated with prostitutes, so a priestess in his service should be at least this much. "I think I get it now. Why would our friend Brahm here is able to summon Draemora that skillfully? You're the keeper of the rose, right?" John said as he commanded Greed to search Brahm. Indeed, and there it was. Greed took out a rose with 2 leaves and a lot of red petals. It looked an ordinary rose at first, but John took out Pride and dispelled the cloaking magic on the rose, showing its true form. The rose enlarged and turned into a staff with green shaft and a rose as a head. Sanguine's Rose, an artifact that can summon Draemora and completely subdue them. It can also enhance the number of the summons. Not a really powerful artifact, except for the part where it makes Draemora really polite. No mage cares about that, though. John let down Brahm from the binding of Greed and gave him Sanguine's Rose back. "So, why did Azurus send Sanguine's laborer after me?" John asked. "It was Lord Sanguine himself. You see, he put a bet against you, and for some reason, he wanted you to not have that thing." The Gypsy woman said, "Oh, Sanguine bet against me too. Now I have Malakath, Maroon's Dagon, Molag Ball, and Sanguine on my ass. Who else is there to worry about? Arania?" John asked. I don't know, but I know that you got the support of Shiagarath, Bothia, Mefla, Vermina, and Herson. Why does this feel like a talent show? Whatever. I'm off." John said, and proceeded to open a portal, but he stopped before doing so. "Hey, mercenary," he called Brahm. "What? You can command those Draemora properly, right?" he asked. "TSK. Just to let you know, I'm called the One-Man Army. Whatever that creature you conjured, it was unfair." Brahm shouted. "Haha, sorry about that. He is still getting used to his new body." John said, "I have an offer to you." "An offer?" "Yep, there's a fight that is about to break out in Winterhold tomorrow. I don't know the scale, but it is big. I'll hire you 500 septims per day." 500? Brahm gasped. "Hey, your labor is to take that crystal from him." The Gypsy shouted at Brahm. Brahm looked at her, but his eyes were turning into $_. He was completely in for the offer. "And as a bonus, I will give you this crystal to finish your labor when I'm done with it. You game?" John took Brahm by the shoulder and added him the offer. "I'm game, Chief." Brahm's attitude turned immediately. "Call me boss." "Boss." The 2 boys were completely on the same side now. "Told you he is troublesome," Arania said to the Gypsy. John waved, Pride, and opened a portal to Winterhold. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is the final boarding call for Portal AF 69 heading to Winterhold. Hold on tight, cause things get messy." Chapter 381, Skyrim's Most Wanted. Hun Kl Zor, hero, champion, legend, at exacting spoon has arrived from the halls of shore. All hail! Winterhold is one of the most historically rich places not only in Skyrim, but also on the continent as a place of war and struggle. In the Merethic era, Sarthal was sacked, and the Atmarans were killed off by the snow elf for Iskermore to sail back to Atmara and bring his 500 companions to hunt down all the snow elves to extinction. In the First Era, Winterhold was also home to a great rebellion during the Reman dynasty, when the Nord fought off the Akaviri Dragon Guard of the Reman Empire to Sky Haven Temple in the Reach, and the rebellion ended with the sack of Winterhild. Years followed, and many kings rose and fell in the snowy lands of Winterhold, yet the Hold ever stood proud even after the great collapse in the Fourth Era and until the famed Thane of Winterhold, John Dare, came along. The progress seen in Winterhold after Year 4, 196, can't be anything other than revolutionary. An industrial age popped up out of nowhere when one young man arrived at Winterhold with a heavy sack of gold and decided to kick off his business by making the College of Winterhold pay to his bathhouse. None was sure how, but in the span of 2 years, things got really exciting and the money flowed like water in Winterhold, but so did blood. Winterhold was to break itself free from the clutches of the pirates and maneuver through political storm prior to a soon-expected civil war. To the common folk and the simple people, Winterhold was stepping in the right direction. It may have had many issues at the beginning, but as the immigration was controlled and the business was expanded, work never ended. Faction grew inside the Hold like the gangs of a new world, but nothing was unexpected. A single dare trooper or a hold guard in the street was enough to put the dogs in their places. This was all thanks to Thane John Dare, the one who resurrected the dying Winterhold and ruled it with the image of the benevolent tyrant. Funny, benevolence and tyranny were qualities that would counter each other, especially in rulers. Yet John has mastered the way of the benevolent tyrant to a scary degree. He would go around and pat the heads of orphans, but a single glare from him was enough to make the older men shiver. In Winterhold, it was no secret when it comes to how traitors and enemies were handled. The Black Room for a light lesson, the Sea of Ghosts for the annoying bastards. But now, things are much different. John Dare was not around. He was presumed dead, and then rumors spread about him being captured by an evil cult. This was not the end of the rumors. The Dare Dragon Company tried to control that particular rumor from doing damage, but it spread like wildfire. John Dare is not John Dare, but John Hild Firemane, the long-lost cursed child of Clan Firemane, the son of the bloody Hilda and the King of Ash, Hilda and John Rad Firemane. The family was insanely on bad terms with every law court in Skyrim. John Rad Firemane, wanted by the Thalmor of the Almarai Dominion as an ex-blade, and by the Crowns of Hammerfell for murder, as well as many other secret charges with various underground organizations. Hilda Firemane was wanted for piracy and murder by Hammerfell, the county of Bruma, and the Almarai Dominion. John Hild Firemane was simply wanted for being alive, and later, the crime of necromancy was added to his list. The small family has gained a new title among the people. They are now called Skyrim's Most Wanted. Indeed, there was a fierce competition between the father, mother, and son trio on whose bounty was higher, and all conquered the 3 top spots with 12,000 septim for Hilda, 14,000 for Johnrad, and 18,000 for John, giving him a bounty higher than that of a mad giant horde, which was 15,000. Of course, not all courts in Skyrim could hang such a bounty. Eastmarch, the Rift, and the Pale were supporting John against the Thalmor. The Reach and Halfingar, Jalmarch, and Whiterun holds didn't even bother commenting and dropped the charges and the bounty without a second thought. Only Falkreath put on the wanted posters for one day, then dropped them the next day after Falk Firebeard appearing with a grim face in front of the Jarl's Longhouse. Outside Skyrim, the forces associated with the matter showed various responses. In the Empire, a dispute happened in the Imperial Palace itself, and the matter was dismissed after a petition of the East Empire Company, yet that didn't stop the wanted posters from being officialized, even though no action was to be taken. In Morrowind, the Reduran government didn't even acknowledge the crimes. In Somerset Isles, a force consisted of several Thalmor arch-wizards took a long-scale portal to the Aldmeride Dominion territory in Tenneth and are expected to arrive in Skyrim once they recover their magicka by the next day. Alina sat behind the CEO's desk, organizing the reports in front of her with a grim face. Her father, Sigurd, stood beside the window, gazing at the town from John's high office, while Jonrad was silently closing his eyes while sitting on a chair at the corner. So these are the demands? I expected something as extreme as cut off your heads and present them on plates of silver. Sigurd said, "It is not much different than what they demanded 15 years ago." Jonrad calmly replied. The two were talking about the list of the demands presented by the messenger that arrived in Winterhold yesterday. A lot has happened. Ever since John's kidnapping accident, putting off the fire resulted by the rumors was all that the Dare Dragon Company, the Firemans, and the Moonblades were focusing on. The populace in Winterhold was at a climax point of tension, and things may turn chaotic any second. The problem with Winterhold was its fast growth in population. Those people who came from everywhere were not like the loyal locals of Winterhold, and a single bad thing may cause them to pack and leave. Now that John Dare was officially wanted by the Thalmor for some sort of prophecy, and the use of undead made things way worse. The locals didn't even bother listening to the rumors, but the new immigrants were all tensed up. Not long after the rumors and John's disappearance, news arrived to Winterhold about a large number of the hidden clan of Skyrim, as well as some mercenaries all in cahoots with the Thalmor, have formed an alliance. Ironically, they called it the Dragon Hunt Alliance. A force consisted of 15,000 men started making camps in the Pale. Jarl Career tired to make contacts with Jarl Skald, but the roads were cut off through the west of Winterhold. The Wayward Pass and groups of bandits appeared in the south around Fort Castav, keeping the roads unsafe and the Imperial Legion occupied. Of course, everyone knew who were these bandits. By doing so, Winterhold land roads were all cut by the Dragon Hunt Alliance. 2 days later, they sent out a list of demands to Winterhold. The first was to disband the Dare Corps and to hand lay down weapons. The second was to open the gates of Winterhold and Neo-Sarthal, then kick out all the population with nothing but what a man can carry. The third was to hand over all the possessions of John Hill Firemane, and that includes all the Elder Scrolls he possessed so far. The fourth was the relevance of John Hill's location and the identities of the mysterious mage that appeared in the fight against the vampires. The fifth was to cripple the Magicka center of Jonrad Firemane, Hilda Firemane, Tyr Firemane, Tormund Firemane, Sigurd Moonblade, and some other key figures and hand them over to the Dragon Hunt Alliance. The sixth was the transfer of the Dare Dragon Company and all its possessions with the Dare fleet on top of them to the Alliance. The seventh was the complete uninvolvement of the College of Winterhold and Arch-Wizard Nurina Arin. These are the 7 top demands, and what followed was not much different. Of course, Alina didn't put much effort into reading the papers. With the Tower of Music standing in the middle of Neo-Sarthal, I am not even considering that their numbers are 5,000 more than ours. I am sure that with the surveillance system John installed around the hold, they won't even be able to tell our real number. Alina said. That was why Sigurd and Jonrad were around her all the time. The so-called Dragon Hunt Alliance has tried so hard to push as many spies and troublemakers as possible in the walls of Winterhold and Neo-Sarthal, but the secret surveillance and facial recognition enchantments were catching spies like a mosquito trap, while Jonrad, Sigurd, and Tyr were taking turns to take care of them. Alina kept the device John created under the vault a secret from anyone and connected it to a light screen so she can use it from afar. By all that, the secrets about the Tower of Music and the true power of the Dare Corps was kept a tight secret. After all, 8,000 against 15,000 is a fair match when the 8,000 are in their forts and defending. Not only that, in the past few days, Alina was making her own measurements that John didn't come up with. She was planning for a real slaughter. Scotty and Father got really busy with that thing you asked them to do. Jonrad mentioned. Well, of course, managing that sort of refugees will need a special set of skills that only those two happen to have. And by the way, how is Hilda doing? Alina said. She is calm, but doesn't speak a lot. Ever since what happened in the Reach, she isn't really in the mood to do anything. Well, at least she's taking care of the kids and Joliner. Good. We need someone as strong as her to stay in Winterhold. Believe me, she won't stay. As soon as this starts, she will take her axe and chop some heads. Sounds like her and John, and you too, Uncle. Aha, not true. I burn people, girl. John Rad said with a hearty laugh. Yes, tell me, Uncle, the thing that you call labor, how dangerous it is? Alina asked. Sigh. Very dangerous, just like any other deal you strike with the Daedra. You should know yourself since your eyes, you know. He said. Yes. I got to admit, I hated what my eyes do, but I was embracing them lately. Embracing? Sigurd frowned and joined the conversation. On a certain prisoner. I can now control the output of my eye powers. Alina said. Sigurd looked at his daughter and nodded slightly. She always kept using her eyes a last resort card, but now she had an object to pour her hate on. He heard that she used her eyes on a certain prisoner on a daily basis. Hate is a strong force and the most negative of all. Sadly, nothing can heal it other than letting it all out. We deviated from the subject. Sigurd himself pushed the bad thoughts away. As a man who I consider my rival, I find it weird that you didn't boast about your labor in front of me. That's what you're good at, right? Boasting. John Rad would normally come up with a savage comeback to Sigurd's provocations, but he merely nodded. That's not something I boast with. Sigurd raised his brows to John Rad's calm reply. Can you tell us, Uncle? Alina asked. Yeah. You know Tyr and I have a friend who we met in the Great War. Yes, you call him Glent, the robe man who can cast that insanely powerful magic. Alina heard the tale. Well, he goes by many names as he is a drifter. It is thanks to him and Tyr, as well as some other people, that a strong prophecy called the Culling, orchestrated by the Daedric Prince Bothia, was stopped during the Great War. I was doing the cleanup in the Imperial Palace after that, and I got my hands on many clues that involved me with the Daedra, not directly at first. Later, to what happened in Hammerfell after John was born, I went back to Skyrim, but Hilda didn't listen to me and kept going with her rage and piracy. I knew things deteriorated badly, so I returned back to High Rock to continue my studies. At year 4, E188, I met a certain priestess of Bothia, and some of my stupid actions has put me in no position but to act as the Daedra's hands. Bothia is one of the Daedra princes who loves to see nations and organizations rise and fall, and my 7 tasks, which is the common number of tasks to all labors, were about pushing some organization out of power. John Rad said as he spaced out remembering what he did. Which organization? Alina asked. John Rad smiled before replying with a grim voice. The Dark Brotherhood. Alina and her father turned silent. I won't tell much about that tale, but this is a tale of no heroes. Only darkness and death wrote it, as its characters were people who were more evil than each other. I met Glimt at High Rock at that time, and luckily, he assisted me when our goals met. He was hired by a man called Uther to track down the Dark Brotherhood assassin who killed his daughter. My labors were in line all along until the last. We found out that Uther's daughter was not killed by the assassins, but rather she was the listener of the Dark Brotherhood. The last listener, Alazan Dupre. Uther wanted his daughter dead, and so did Bothia. And? I burned the girl to death. Silence took over for a while until John Rad decided to speak again. In labors, there's only the ending that fits the Daedra the most. My labor ended the core power of the Dark Brotherhood in Cyrodiil as Bothia wanted. In John's case, who knows what a Daedra like Azura wants? John Rad said. The 3 turned to the window to look at the gigantic shrine of Azura that was over there on the mountain not too far from Winterhold. As they were silent, the door to the room was knocked, and Sev the secretary walked in. Lady Alina, Lady Ela has arrived, and the Hasty Bee also arrived. Lady Vittoria Vici and Captain Ongium are on their way. Sev reported and let Ela in. As Ela walked in and put down the thick hood over her head, she took a look around and saw John Rad and Sigurd. Well met, uncles. She greeted them with an awkward face. Ela was not one of the most active figures around Winterhold, so she met Jonrad and Sigurd only 2 times before. She also mistook Jonrad of John once. The two nodded to her, and she walked to Alina. "Sister, it is good to see you again." Alina said. "You too, sister. I came with news." Ela replied. "Let's hear it. The Companions has agreed to your contract, and after we consider the power of Winterhold based on what we saw, we're going to back Winterhold up." "Thank you, Ela. This is really good to hear." Alina was delighted to have the Companions' support in the upcoming battle. She couldn't risk hiring mercenaries as Winterhold appeared to be in a dire situation from outside, and revealing strategic information about the real power of Winterhold was too risky. As the girl spoke, some loud noises came from outside as few guards walked in behind Vittoria Vici and Angium. Somehow, even Nurina and Wolfer showed up. "What is the big situation?" Ela asked. "Something that John asked for," Alina said, and received the people coming in the room. The guards put down a medium-sized chest and left the room. Alina closed the door herself and sealed the room with a spell. "So, girl, is that it?" Nurina asked Vittoria. "Yes, this is the item John wanted. I can't believe we actually managed to pull that one off," Vittoria said with a pale face. "Relax, no one could even find out that it disappeared, and no one even found out that we were in Morrowind," Angium said. "You had the best of Team Zero with you after all," Wolfer remarked. "Still, I am surprised. One needs a really strong nerve to steal one of Morrowind's national treasures," Jonrad said. "National treasure?" Ela was the only one who didn't know what's going on. Right, I told you a week ago that John wanted a certain item from the city of Blacklight, the capital of Morrowind," Alina said. "Yes, you said Captain Angium and Miss Vici were on it," Ela confirmed. "Well, we had to steal it as negotiations would take weeks." Vittoria was still pale. "Open the chest." Nurina seemed eager to see what's inside. Nurina nodded and used the spell that can unlock the containment chest. While holding their breath, the 8 people in the room held their breath as they looked inside. "A dagger?" Ela raised her brows as she saw the dagger made of a Dwemer metal handle and a blue crystal blade. Not just any dagger, but officially the most dangerous dagger in the world. Alina said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you, Keening." Chapter 382, Fuck Off. 1 SD of First Seed, March, for E199, Winterhold. It was all official now. The forces of the so-called Dragon Hunt Alliance have marched in the hold of Winterhold from the west, and will arrive at Neo Sarthal by tomorrow. The Jarl and the DDC, Dare Dragon Company, have issued a warning and let everyone behind the walls. The 3 main settlements of Winterhold City, Sarthal Fortress, and Whispering Town have all fortified themselves according to regulations and the drills which were installed in case things like that happened. The main battlefield was, of course, going to be west in Neo Sarthal. Winterhold's landscape was a really good factor, and its supportive role is critical in the defensive plan. As the hold was really tight on roads, especially in the eastern side, an army of 15,000 can only move in a large field where it would lose the numerical advantage. This made both Winterhold City and the Whispering Town safe for now. Of course, the defense forces of Winterhold had to be ready for any fast raids from the back if the enemy wanted to send an attachment through the mountain roads. That's why Alina made sure to leave a 1,000 Dare trooper in a fortified area near the Whispering Town and Winterhold City to protect the south. The remaining 7,000 were fortifying Neo Sarthal. It was known that the combined forces of the Firemans and the Moonblades were only 3,000 men, while only 1,000 should be working for the DDC, so Alina made a public recruitment announcements and some propaganda to cover the sudden increase of the numbers, as a local militia consisted of 4,000 men to cover up any legal issue that might occur later on. The mercenaries that Alina managed to hire were none other than the Companions, and they sent 300 strongmen whose value rivaled 2,000 normal soldiers. The initial attack plan of the Dragon Hunt Alliance was to rely on the defense holes in Neo Sarthal and break through its walls. The city was newly built, and its defenses shouldn't be that perfect just yet. Still, things proved challenging. The estimated number of the defense forces of Winterhold should be over at the very least 5,000. Attacking with 15,000 should be akin to bullying. The Dragon Hunt Alliance was not an official campaign or anything rather than a bandit raid. The laws of the Empire and the Kingdom of Skyrim forbade such an unlicensed force to gather in one place, which meant the clans forming the alliance have a little time to act and be done with the threat of Winterhold and Jonhild Firemane. The main reason why they were doing such a bold thing was the two hidden clans that were annihilated by the Firemans and the DDC, which are the Bloodsail and the Blackbone clans. Those two clans involved themselves against Jonhild Firemane and disappeared from the face of Nirn because of it. This was why Jon was rumored as the cursed child between the clans. The other force at play other than the hidden clans was the Thalmor. They pretty much have a massive grudge with the Firemans and Jon's family. Leaving such a dangerous person alive was out of the question. The Thalmor used the same tactic they used 18 years ago when they chased Hilda through Skyrim. They were involved under disguise as mercenaries wearing leather armors and black robes. By doing so, they gathered 9 hidden clans with animosity towards the Firemans and participated in the chase 18 years ago. These clans were Windwolf, Icehair, Farwinter, Ironblood, Thornshield, Blackblade, Stormfist, the Krogr, and the Nicker. 9 of the most notorious clans who had a long history of violence and bloodshed. These clans, alongside the Thalmor, have all gathered in the western borders of Winterhold near the ancestral home of the Moonblades. The old patriarch of the Nicker clan met in the central tent with the other leaders. He was infuriated for some reason. Damn them all to oblivion. I thought this was the end of that Moonblade brat, yet he chose to abandon his home and flee. Ah! Scap the Old slammed the table in front of him. What's with the old fool? A certain young girl, sitting among the leaders, asked. Old blood with the Moonblades. Sigurd Moonblade has killed 3 of his sons. A middle-aged man replied. These are the young Ogre of the Stonefists of Whiterun and Hagi of the Blackblades of Riften. Would you please quit making a ruckus? We can't delay any longer than this. Another figure entered the tent and spoke. It was a tall woman with golden skin and pointy ears. This is not your business to decide, elf. We move when we want to move. Scap the Old tried to let his frustration on the high elf woman. The woman's beautiful face showed a calm smile and nodded. She then turned to the other leaders. I suppose that we all are aware that time is of the essence, and as you all know, we sent many people to gather information about Winterhold, yet it has been 3 days and no one returned. I don't like it, Orgus Stormfist said. In that case, let's do with what we have. The people of Winterhold must be very wary and has already started their defensive measures. Even though we cut the roads, we can't cut the sea in front of their Dare fleet. The road between Winterhold and Neo-Sarthal is a mountain valley between 2 cities, so it can't be raided, which means we have no hope in cutting their supply. Sadly, we don't have time for that, and we will need to finish them off in 1 day. The High Elf took the lead of the meeting anyway. Let's just blast the walls with any spell or shout it down. Tofa Farwinter said. A nice idea that we surely will be using. The High Elf remarked sarcastically. What we don't know is how Winterhold will respond. I am sure they are very well prepared to face us with all what they have, and that includes master wizards from the College of Winterhold. My master will be arriving tomorrow with 10 of arch wizards who just arrived from Aliner to oversee the operation. The Nords didn't comment on that. 10 arch wizards is an overkill. Winterhold's college has only 5, not including the mysterious woman that appeared at the Battle of Forsworn John Dare and fought the vampires, forcing them to retreat. No matter how much distrust the Nords had towards the High Elves, the number of arch-wizards showed the power of the Dominion. Of course, that was nothing compared to the war machine of a large nation, but it was still a lot. Winterhold needs a true miracle to stop this force. At the meantime, we have our battle mages and your voice masters. I am sure any interference from above won't be necessary. The High Elf said. Now to the important part. A map was laid down on the table. This is Neo Sarthal as our scouts could draw from afar. The one who designed the city was clearly not an expert, so he made 2 layers of walls with 10 meters between them and bridges to link the front and the back battlements. The 2 walls are connected to the mountains that were somehow cut cleanly by some magic we don't know about to make it impossible to climb. One of the reasons that took us too long to decide a campaign was the unknown methods and of Winterhold. What about that? Orga the Young pointed at the center of Neo Sarthal. A tower of some sort. If my guess is correct, Winterhold is trying to use some large-scale magic, but the basis is wrong. First of all, the tower is not complete, as they built its inner parts hurriedly without focusing on the outer stone part. It is mostly exposed, and whoever goes up there will be hunted by any good mage. The High Elf said. Shouldn't they know that too? Orga questioned. Of course, but they are desperate. Their good ships can't work against a large-scale land attack, so we are expecting that they will flee using the sea in the end. We have no method to stop them if the battle was dragged to the sea, and frankly we have the time, but as long as the archmages arrive tomorrow, there will be no escape for them. The High Elf was confident, and so were the clans. What if they try to face us on the ground? Orga asked. Then it would be their funeral. The reply was immediate. You sure? Orga the Young questioned. As far as I know, the Firemans, the Moonblades, and the Company of Winterhold are no easy opponents. They will fight with everything they got, and will fight desperately. Orga the Young of Clan Stormfist was questioning a lot. At first, she seemed an immature, brash young girl, but in reality, she was a shrewd and a scary person. The High Elf woman kept her cool in front of Orga's piercing gaze and smiled wider. No matter what happens tomorrow, the result is set in stone, the High Elf said and turned to the others. Tomorrow, we will rush Neo Sarthal and Winterhold. The battle plan will be decided at tonight's meeting once the last of the scouts return. And as promised, the clans can share all the gold and silver inside those walls. Our aim is any magical tomes and scrolls, so we won't be sharing your loot. I hope everyone here is pleased with our deal. The Nords smiled and looked at each other in a cheerful air. The word loot was indeed music to their ears. The High Elf woman sneered in her head and walked out of the tent. Orga the Young kept glaring at her, then clicked her tongue. I don't like that bitch, she said. Back at her tent, the High Elf woman dropped all masks. She massaged her stiff face that was already hurt from putting on a fake smile all day long. She sat on her table preparing her reports to the high UPS who were interested in the matter regarding John Dare. She wasn't feeling good about the whole thing from the start, as every time the Thalmor went after John, they were always bested by him. He had an advantage, something they don't know of, and they can't tell what is that. Many evidence was there, the mysterious fleet, the cleanly cut mountain, the spies that disappear the moment they step foot in Winterhold. Nothing was normal. In her opinion, they shouldn't have pursued John Dare from the start. A human with a strong fate like that should be avoided, but it was all too late now. The best course of action is to eliminate him. She was about to continue writing the reports, but a voice interrupted her. My lady, it is Callion. Come in, she said and looked up for a high elf in leather armor to walk in. It was one of her subordinates. A confident man, but somehow he seemed flustered. What is it? She asked. My lady, John Hill Firemane was sighted in Winterhold. What? She jumped up from her chair with her eyes wide open. He is here? The vampires let him go, or did he escape? The high elf woman didn't know how to react, but she remembered something. Wait, how can that be? Haven't all our spies get caught? Yes. It was not the spies' report. It was the scouts. The scouts. What was strange about it was that the scouts were mostly stationed a mile away from Neo Sarthal, and Winterhold hid in the terrain and using their spyglasses to monitor the enemy. Yes, he was very notable as he made a flashy entrance. A flashy entrance. The woman was taken aback. The fool. He should have kept himself hidden if he wanted to fight us seriously. Well, here's the thing. The scout said that John Hill Firemane looked at him right in the eye from a mile away. Then he made a rude sign. A rude sign? Yes, a middle finger sign. Ah, you mean he flipped the bird? My lady, I was once a soldier, Callion. Don't worry about it. So, is there anything else? Callion, excuse me, my lady. He left a message for you. Who? John Hill Firemane? For me? She was taken aback once again. Where is it? Callion felt awkward before replying. In the sky, my lady. He wrote it with some magic. The woman narrowed her eyes and stood up. She walked out of her tent to see Orga the Young waiting for her. So, if it is not her ladyship. Ah, I knew something was wrong about you. Orga laughed hard as she pointed to the sky. Indeed, there was a red cloud formed as words flying towards the Dragon Hunt Alliance camp. The words were clear as day. Fuck off, Elenwen. Elenwen's face froze. She, the Thalmor ambassador, was keeping her identity a secret from those Nords to keep no physical evidence about the Thalmor's involvement, but now, things went rather open. Her stiffened expressions became indifferent as she looked away. John Dare indeed. I'll fucking kill you. Chapter 383, Preparations. Sorry for the sudden break. A heat wave started a few days ago and actually caused a malfunction to the old telephone box which feeds the modems in my neighborhood. You are free to imagine the heat. And big thanks to @Shadow_Fang. Moneymouth face, kiss mark to hearts. Almost 4 months ago, John left this house and those people to attend a meeting in solitude. A lot has happened ever since. He was confronted by Thane Eriker in a debate that he splendidly won, yet it ended up with Eriker going overboard announcing his evil doings of going after John's brother, Wolfer. John had to travel through space to Markarth and fight a horde of Forsworn to save his brother, only to end up getting captured for 2 months and facing a massive dilemma. Even though it was a predicament, the experience John's gained was massive, and he got a huge insight into his power serving as a period of training his body and reaching a high level of understanding. As John started to heal up and get back on his enemies, he was captured once again by vampires and got dragged to Cold Harbor, only to put his effort in creating one crazy artifact to escape the place. Now, he was sitting on his bed surrounded by all his family and friends in a heated reunion. Hilda cried too much as she looked at his sorry state. John didn't hide his injuries anymore and told what happened to him, how his labor started and how he is handling them. Nerina would have whacked him with her staff in a fit of anger, but she was silent as a stone. John knew why. She had a traumatic experience with the Daedra when she was young. Something that she can never forget or forgive the Daedra and would never get them involved in her family. Knowing that John was on good and bad terms with some Daedra made her just stay silent. He had a troublesome fate, and she already saw this one coming. She also knew that he possessed the skull of corruption and always wanted him to abandon the damn staff, but she trusted him to do the right thing on his own. Anyway, John Rad had to comfort his son and welcome him home after the long absence. Some tears were shed and some laughs sounded, and the mood finally reached a point of stillness. John was surrounded by Alina and Ela as he sat beside Jelinar and caressed her hair. Jelinar has fallen ill when John's power was cut. She got better with time, but was still sickly and weak. Being her spirit guardian, John knew the reasons behind her case and had already decided to heal her with all his power, but he had to heal first. Unfortunately, pride wasn't the answer. Pride is part of John, so it can be only as powerful as John in best cases. Healing such injuries in Jelinar's case at the same time will require an extreme solution. I hope my actions just now with the whole message thing didn't do you any problems with your plans. John said, Not at all. The morale of the people are on the rise after your appearance. We had some chaotic situations with people abandoning their jobs and people actually leaving Winterhold, but now things are calmer even with an enemy on the door. Alina said, Seriously? Yes. The locals didn't forget that day when you came of Flame Atronak Hawks and defeated the pirates from 2 years ago. Ah, I see. John smiled and turned to Jelinar, who was lying beside him. And how are you doing? I am fine. They just don't want to let me get out of this bed. She replied, Lair, you are the one who doesn't want to get up and cry all night, Oila retorted. Her reply was blunt, and she realized that John's face changed once he heard it. He became silent for a while before kissing Joel's forehead and whispering something to her. She smiled widely afterward. What about you, troublemaker? John asked Elo with a warm smile. Me? Good. I hit the road between Winterhold and Whiterun more than often nowadays, and to keep track of the chaos. Kodlak keeps the contracts up north all for me now. Good to hear. John patted her head and stood up. Where are you going? Joel asked. Keep resting. There's a lot of things need to be done. He said as he turned around, There's a lot of things that need to be done. I am sorry to involve you in this shit show, but we're going to end it. The ones he spoke to were John Rad, Hilda, Narina, Sigurd, Tormund, Jenna, and Wolfer. What do you have in mind? Wolfer asked. HM, my plans are mostly regarding my own. I gave total control to Alina. John nonchalantly said. Wait, what do you mean? Alina asked. I'm pretty much not experienced with rallying men and making a strategy unless it is a street fight or ordering around my undead. Armies are not my cup of tea, so I'll leave it to you, and I will act as the mascot. John patted Alina's shoulder. What about the men? Everyone is now expecting you to come out and drive away the enemies with a big spell or some shout. A big spell? You already have the Tower of Music functioning, right? Yeah. Its basic function is amazing on its own, but the function we need to activate will need this. Here you go. Whoa. John took something and put it in Alina's hand. Literally, everyone in the room jumped away when they saw it. What? John tilted his head innocently. Alina's eyes went blank the moment she was handed that thing casually. That is, yeah. Why is it here? I took it with me. Boy, you escaped the vampires with that. Narina jumped behind Alina. Yes, I didn't mention it. You didn't. That is. Hilda wondered. My God. Wolfer went rather pale. You ugly bastard. John Rad cussed at John. Say that again, old bastard. John was aggroed. Leave him alone now. What is that? Hilda went between them. An Elder Scroll. John casually replied. Ah, damn. An Elder Scroll. Hilda realized the identity of the strange-looking cylinder object. Why do I have an Elder Scroll in my hands? Alina asked. I brought it. Now, what did you want me to do with it? As I said, the Tower of Music has a basic function and a function that needs an Elder Scroll. Here you go. I see. So, those extra files that I didn't understand were about this function. Are you really serious? She asked. I am sure that you will manage. John patted her shoulder back with a smile. Is there anything we need to worry about? Tormund asked. Nah, grandfather. John's plan will work with this. Alina comforted the people around her, then took a large sheet and warped the Elder Scroll with it. We should safekeep it and not let it get scratched. Alina's earnest action made John laugh. What's wrong? Alina asked. Elder Scrolls are objects that exist out of space and time. They are basically invulnerable. Oh, okay. Alina felt embarrassed for not realizing that. At least, let's keep it out of sight. The heavy atmosphere was lifted by the light situation, and a state of calmness took over. Damn, it is good to be back, John exclaimed. You must be hungry. Should I fix you something? Hilda said. Thank you, Mother. I am starving. John replied. As the room started to get emptier, John spoke to Alina. You seem happy. Yes, you returned. She replied. Oh, okay. And why do you keep smiling like that? She was about to brush it off, but someone interrupted. She is happy that you returned without some vampire girl with you. Lady Alf was teasing her with that joke. Jelliner said, Oh, right. There is that vampire girl whose name is Serana. Sadly, her father is the boss of the vampires that took me, and she couldn't simply come. Alina, Jelliner, and Elo were all silent. Wah ha ha. Jelliner held her belly and burst into laughter. God damn it. Alina cussed it out loud. Damn vampires. One can't sniff them out. Ela became depressed. What's going on? John sensed the off situation. Alina didn't reply and walked out. Hey, where are you going? John called. Humph. Alina didn't seem she want to reply. I see. Okay, I'll give you some time to cool off. Can you tell me where's the thing I asked you to bring? The dagger, Keening. John followed her out. I don't know. Why don't you go ask that bitch Alexa? Alina broke away and left John dumbfounded. Fan service here. Hey, what happened while I was gone? John looked back, but there was nothing they could tell. The dagger is kept in the vault. Jelliner said. MHM, thanks. John nodded and went on his own. The house felt so much more beautiful after almost 4 months of absence. John took his way down to the basement to find Wolfer standing there working on something that looked like a large saddle. Hey, what are you up to? John asked. Alina has some plans of her own for the coming fight. I am just making sure everything is us according to the sketches. Wolfer said. And that is a new toy for the Council of the Cousins. Haha. Hafthor begged me for it. You will see it when the time comes. Huh. Looking forward to it then. Are we all set with the battle preparations? John asked. Yes, it's all covered. Cannons, ballistas, Tesla towers, and all. Yep. Fine. Keep up the good work. John left Wolfer headed directly to the vault. He opened the brass door and walked in to find a few mounds of gold and gems in the small room. Sigh. Looks like I'm not beating Scrooge McDuck anytime soon. I agree. Shadow. Motherfucker. Where were you? What are you talking about, motherfucker? Where were you? The hell. You took your tail and disappeared before I got dragged by the vampires. Vampires? What exactly did I miss? You were going to fight the Forsworn last time I saw you. After that, I couldn't find you anywhere. What the fuck do you mean? Shouldn't you be in my head? Do I look like a fucking imaginary friend to you? I was out there doing my business. The hell? Fine, good. Very good. The Dongar DLC was about to start 2 years earlier. The fuck? I even got an Elder Scroll. Okay, start from the beginning. And John started from the beginning. Now, mind telling me where on Nirn did you disappear? I'd call it Earth rather than Nirn. Shadow murmured quietly. Wait, what? What? Nothing. What are you talking about? You just said Earth. Did I? You must be imagining things. Hey, don't fuck with me. You just said Earth. No, I didn't say that. Damn you. You are on Earth. No, stop it. We'll talk later, bye. Hey, Shadow. You fucker, damn it. John was absolutely baffled by what happened just now. He thought he understood the mystery of Shadow as a high-ranking spirit bound to his reincarnation, but things seemed rather more than just that. Shadow messed when he was using telepathy with John, and his thoughts slipped. Something about Earth. John sat on some mound of gold coins and racked his brain around the matter. It could be anything at this point, judging by how flustered Shadow was. He knew there was more to this than just what he thinks, but this is his first time finding a lead about Earth. Just to what extent is Shadow involved with Earth? John thought and thought for almost an hour, but nothing came to mind. He couldn't tell from where should he start solving this puzzle. Oh, fuck it. Whether it is Shadow's origin or the connection between this world and the past one, John had no basis to work on other than some theories and speculations. It held no meaning towards the truth behind everything, of course, but he can only hope for the bits and pieces he gets from Shadow. Of course, John has no intention of returning to Earth. 15 years have passed, and he already stopped grieving for his old life, and of course the people there have already buried his corpse and moved on. Now that the mood was ruined by stupid Shadow, John gave a hearty sigh and stood up looking around. Alexa, what's up? Good morning, John. Oh, you got an update? Your voice sounds a bit less feminine now. Your tone is also mechanical rather than harmonious. Who changed the settings? Second admin, Alina. I see. That's what you get for giving your girl the password. Sigh. Fine, restore the old settings and set their access to first admin only. Confirmation required. Also, second admin has left a message in case you have done this action. Really? Check. Asterisk smiling emoji asterisk. Fuck. Cancel action. John broke in a cold sweat. Alina is scary. Alexa, Where is the thing? The shelf behind you. John turned around and saw a neatly decorated box. He opened it and saw Keening, encased in its Dwemer metal handle and blue crystal blade, covered in layers of protective enchanted sheets. Of course they have done so, because touching Keening without proper protection is lethal. Keening is an item of a set called the Tools of Kagranak, the three artifacts that were the core part of the secret behind the Dwemer disappearance from the world and the rise of the three living gods, demigods that ruled Morrowind, the Tribunal. The dagger, Keening, the hammer, Sunder, and the gauntlet, Wraithgord. Sunder was designed to produce a certain power of tonal magic that can strike the heart of Lorcan, to make it produce an amount of pure primordial godly energy that can be flayed by Keening. Sunder has produced energy, and Keening has absorbed energy, are lethal to the wielder. Here when comes Wraithgord, with its enchantment that can nullify the lethal effect. All in all, Sunder produce a high-quality magic attacks. Keening absorbs the essence energy, and Wraithgord protects from all manners of magic energies. John sneered and removed the protecting sheets from Keening, then held it with his bare hands. He wasn't worried the slightest. Now what is left was acquiring Sunder and Wraithgord. John murmured to himself. Who could have told that they are just around the corner? John's plan was going smoother than ever. And people wonder why I chose Winterhold to be my home. It is simply the best, haha, that you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.